Well, happy Friday, SMITE fans. You are watching Phase 2 SOC Finals over here in North America, just prior to the SPL today. That'll be starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Dulcet and Mifflin, though, are going to take you through this big matchup between Too Much Xbox and CoinPoin United. I am back, though, Mifflin, and no one missed me more than maybe you.
I couldn't do it without you, bud. The chair reads, they were awful. I kept thinking about how much fun you were having at the beach. I just wanted to be there with you, man. And now that you're back, I feel like we're back home, you know?
Right. We're by the hearth. The fire is back in the home, and the fire in both of these two teams that we see in the finals here. 2-0s for them, both in the semifinals, especially over Gone to Tahiti for CoinPoin. That's a team that we have seen find some good success here in the SOC, but some interesting names maybe between these two teams, Mifflin. But this is kind of the beauty of the SOC names where, you know, not as immediately recognizable, getting a chance to really show their stuff.
I mean, CoinPoin's got a little bit of name recognition themselves.
Sure.
Dansland from the AVGL. We've got Yar Bad Kid, a PlayStation 4 player, become PC ranked player. Now he's over here in the SOC. And over on Too Much Xbox, we got Freya, who's got some team experience with Paul from the SPL. We see Vonson, an avid Twitter user. You probably spot him in that console community. And In My Zen, who's made a recent transition to PC and seen some moderate success in the ranked scene.
I wonder if your name is Freya and you play anything but Freya, seems like a misstep there, but I can't imagine that leans too much into Too Much Xbox's game plan here for picks and bans. Instead, Thor and Hell will be taken away. First overall, Discordia immediately to follow. I think Discordia started to see this rise, Mifflin, where other mid laners have been tweaked numbers-wise, some changes here and there, and Discordia started to kind of come to the forefront of that mid laner conversation.
When you have an ability that is able to just single-handedly CC and do burst damage like Discordia does, Strife can single-handedly turn team fights, and then Unruly Magic with the follow-up. It's a god that has got a certain degree of safety inside of her jump as well. Discordia is possibly the best all-rounder in the mage role for my money.
There's got a lot of utility and damage to top it all off. Now, Nike, maybe largely, if not solely thanks to Sino in the SPL, has really started to see a resurgence, and in particular in that jungle role. Won't see her here in game number 1, Raijin. So some mid lane priority. 3 out of 6 bans, you could argue, are mid lane gods. So we'll have to see how these mid laners adapt in the pick ban phase. But Ullr first overall. That has been kind of a thread we've been able to follow, that Ullr flex first pick, potentially even first ban priority throughout a lot of the weeks here in the SOC, SEC, and SPL.
He's going to bring pressure no matter where he goes. If you drop it in a mid, you know that you're going to at least have the wave pressure and potentially get a first red buff invade. If you drop him into the duo lane, you can generally leave him on an island, and he should be able to take any 1v2, or at least just drag some pressure over to his lane as he just pushes it out. He's a fantastic flex pick. He does tons of damage. Recently, we've seen Ullr shift towards a more mage-style build with Transcendence, Jotun, Crusher, all these CDR items. I mean, this god is just going to do whatever you want. He's going to fit every single draft, so it's no surprise when we see him picked up so early on.
I mean, you talk about forward pressure here, and it's not only now with the Ullr, but you put a King Arthur in there and then a Horus to round out your first 3 picks. In-your-face playstyle seems to be the name of the game for Too Much Xbox, at least through their first 3.
Run it down. That's what their draft says. We're going to run it down literally everywhere. Duo lane, if this is an Ullr and Horus together, that is nearly unrivaled kill contention. They're going to be able to just blow up anyone that gets DC'd. King Arthur is possibly the best run it down god in that short lane. Against just about anyone, no one's going to be able to stop his pressure. If it is a Sobek in solo for the Coin Boys, you can possibly not die to Arthur, but you're not going to be able to match the early game rotations. So if King Arthur decides to leave a little bit earlier on, try and force some fights around mid or Gold Fury, Xbox might just have the edge.
Oh, we've talked a good bit about the duo lane now for Xbox, but the Coin Boys have a decent duo lane of their own, assuming Yamoja is, in fact, in that support role, the Ho Yi as well. So there is some setup and potentially kill pressure there as well. This might be a fun duo lane to watch, Mifflin.
It could be. I'm worried about the pre-5 for the Coin Boys, right? Ullr is going to be able to bully you out. He's not going to hit that level 5 spike like who you will with his ultimate, but the raw damage potential, the CC, all of that, what Xbox's squad is bringing pre-5 is going to be so hard to contend with, especially for Yemoja. This god has very low mobility. A lot of her abilities really don't come online until around level 3, as you usually see them max out the 1 first. The ultimates are going to be completely contingent on this lane for Coin Boys, but like, it's going to be a hard task to get there. I imagine we might see some early ganks from the Susano in the duo lane to just try and alleviate some of the pressure from this Horus and Ullr.
Well, the Scylla being locked in all but confirms that Ullr will be in the long lane. Robin, though, locked in to round out the draft here for Too Much Xbox. Do you think we've talked about those first 3 picks, in your face, pre-5 aggression? Do you think Scylla and Robin have kind of continued that thread with their final 2 picks?
Scylla, not really, but Robin is going to be a fantastic bridge pick jungle to match some of the aggression, because Scylla is not really able to fight until she gets 1 or 2 items online. Around level 6 is when she starts to clear out waves consistently. Until then, she's going to be really reliant on this Robin to rotate through the jungle, help her out with clear, help her out with pressuring out the enemies. So I think having this one late game god inside of Scylla who's going to really scale well is going to be very smart, considering all this run it down comp that Xbox has right now.
Hey, we've talked enough about picks and bans. Let's jump in to game number 1, and running it down already is Too Much Xbox, kind of what we figured here. This has kind of been that style, though. When you have this early game pressure, let's contest purple buff right off the bat. It's the blink forward now from the Horus. We'll get locked down on the retreat by Yemoja. You do have to be careful. Yemoja has that turnaround kill pressure, and Too Much Xbox might realize that this is not a fight they want to take much longer.
And all this damage that they've done already is almost nil. The healing coming out from Jabam chips is going to be so hard to deal with. Vonson takes off the majority of his health here. Yes, Ullr does get to that wave a little bit earlier on. He does get the farm to himself, so he's not going to be too far behind in XP, but Vonson is losing out. The poke that they got onto this Yemoja isn't really going to matter for too much longer with the sustain coming out. Overall, CoinPoin don't really miss out on the lane either. They only lose out on about 2 minions. Not much really comes from the aggression from Too Much Xbox here. They're going to have to back up to their own purple, but they do a decent job of just slowing down the farm from CoinPoin.
My Zen is at least able to hit that level 2 mark before having to return back to his own purple buff. Oracle's locked down here by CoinPoin. That's the mid and jungle rotation over. And in talking about Too Much Xbox's draft, we didn't really get a moment to touch on Dan's Land yet. The Ra, maybe more specifically. I feel like this is a pick we've started to see, but kind of few and far between, where it does provide some utility. The healing is absolutely there, can help you kind of sustain sieges just a little bit longer. What do you like here in a Ra pick for CoinPoin?
It's a relatively new mechanic with Ra, but now when you stand in the heal, your allies gain additional power. So this allows Ra to go for early objectives a lot more than he used to. He can start to be that burn factor. If he drops his heal on top of a gold free, now his entire team starts to shred it away, and he's got confirm in his ult.
My Sweet Potato moves through. Crush almost gets it done on the turnaround from Dame. The sidestep of the beam is complete there. Somehow both teams escaping unscathed. You talk about early pressure. My Sweet Potato just kind of walks in and looks for the kill.
That's what Susano's going to do. If he sees anyone step out of line even a little bit, the displacement from his second ability is going to allow him to just absolutely exploit anyone stepping up too far. He's going to constantly looking for this. He's trying to make sure that at least one of his lanes gets the pressure. If My Sweet Potato decides to lock it down in mid and continue running at the weakest early game god on Too Much Xbox draft, it's going to force the support from Too Much Xbox to rotate out earlier on and kind of mitigate that kill potential they have in the 2v2.
Well, the blue buff invade is now happening here. Too Much Xbox looking for fights all over the map. Chips is going to stay alive there as Freya will be plucked on back by Wicked. My Sweet Potato missed out on first blood, and last time we'll be able to find it here. Freya says no. That's the teleport right on back from My Sweet Potato, and both teams are going to escape back to their own side of the map. So, I mean, Xbox doesn't necessarily pick up. They don't steal away that blue buff right away, but it's an early invade where they're able to walk away unscathed.
That's a clean play from them, but it opens up the other side of the map for a gank. In my Zen and Vonson are going to have to back up here, but Dan's Land hot on their ankles.
Oh, this is tough for Vonson. He's going to get locked in here. No dash available, and Dan's Land will rotate through. Searing Pain didn't connect a moment ago, but it will have enough damage on the end of it, and that is first blood over the Coin Boys.
That's a rough start for Too Much Xbox. You draft all this pressure, you draft it everywhere on the map. You're essentially saying, we want to win every single step of the way, even including mid, despite having the Scylla with a Robin pickup. You should expect that you get the pressure over Dan's Land on the Raw, but so far they've been getting poked out everywhere on the map. The rotations from My Sweet Potato have been doing a lot to alleviate the pressure, and CoinPoin are getting off to a hot start with a team that arguably scales way better into the late game.
Yeah, especially over on to Vonson. I mean, it's not for a lack of trying. I mean, the purple buff invades were there, attempted once more. Just quicker on the rotation from Dan's Land there to be able to move over for a kill. We kind of have talked as well about Too Much Xbox, maybe looking for this early game presence, as in my Zen is going to realize that without the Horus, laning is a touch more difficult when you're still going against Yamoja and a Ho-Yi there. So back under the tier 1 tower he goes. Do you get a sense maybe of late game identity here from CoinPoin? I mean, a Sobek so tough to deal with in a late game, a Susano as well will be able to find these 1v1s. Do you kind of get maybe opposite mindsets for both of these teams?
To some extent, the late game that CoinPoin has drafted is strong, but it's not necessarily the strongest we've ever seen. It's just the comparative relative strength of Too Much Xbox post 25 minutes that we're worried about. But Wicked, certainly worried about his own blue buff, might have to trade out his life trying to contend it. Does have to use the ultimate, backs up a little bit, gets out safely. Vonson just playing all over the map this game. Doesn't seem like he really cares about the Gold Fury. He's not too worried about the duo lane anymore. This is the second time in 5 minutes he's rotated towards that solo side of the map. That's leaving up so much potential for CoinPoin to just shift their focus towards the objective. Already pointed out that Dan's Land on this Raw is going to absolutely shred these objectives, as well as has a ton of confirmed for it. Vonson's going to have to be careful if he wants to keep rotating over to the short lane.
Yeah, now Jabami Chips as well has rotated out of that long lane. So this is an area where your bad kid does need to be comfortable. Once the supports have left the lane, that or kill potential still at an all-time high. Your bad kid does obviously have the opportunity to turn around some kills there. But it tends to be the fireworks maybe slow down a little bit once the supports leave. Freya hovering just close to this long lane as well. Haven't seen much from the Robin though, Mifflin, about 6 minutes into this game.
He's just now finished up those boots. This is generally where you start to see the junglers get a little bit more aggressive. You need that movement speed and the additional power to really get anything off of these ganks. Now that he has boots online, no more excuses. He has to get involved early and hard on this Robin. He needs to maybe force out Dan's Land, look for some ganks in the solo lane, do anything that he can to create pressure. This Robin pick absolutely puts your team on a timer. He scales incredibly poorly into the late game, especially if he goes the damage build.
Whoa, Sweet Potato finds the tier 1 tower dive, and he'll get the second kill of the game for CoinPoin, and this time it's Dame who ends up falling down. Was doing relatively well in that mid lane against Dan's Land, who found first blood previously, but that's a return gank from, you know, a couple minutes into this game for My Sweet Potato, and now the Susano is off to the races.
Freya just shows a lot of hesitation there. He was hovering around trying to look for the gank, and instead of blinking at himself, he just watches as Sweet Potato does the same.
To the skies on the way back in from Vonson, returning back over to this blue buff side. Wicked is tier 1 tower just off to the side, but we use the pluck for disengage. Dan's Land is here, a kill in his belt, a nice double stun there from Jabami Chips, and My Sweet Potato will pick up the kill. Back of the blue buff pit goes Freya, but the blink away is complete. Cybrito left alone, 4 members of CoinPoin. That's going to be the toss and the execute, and this Raw has found a couple of kills.
Dan's rotations are so absolutely aggressive. He walks in face first into 3 enemies, says, well, they're not going to damage me. They're already losing the fight. I'm not worried about anything. And he shouldn't have been. He found all the damage that he needed just walking in for free. Sweet Potato might be able to catch out Freya.
Whoa, but Freya turns it around. It's almost a bait there. Freya certainly realized. I was wondered, but there was like a moment of hesitation where Freya doesn't move, but that's great presence of mind to realize you have the damage to turn that around. Obviously, the tier 2 tower in on the assist, but maybe a bit of a misstep there for My Sweet Potato, giving one back to Too Much Xbox.
Dude, my man Freya was in the shop. He wasn't looking at his screen even a little bit. It wasn't hesitation.
Too much credit.
He just didn't know. Sweet Potato says, oh, he's in the shop. Let me go in now. Well, it's been about 2 seconds, buddy. Of course, he's closed it down, and he tries to go for the dive inside of a tier 2 at 8 minutes. Just a little bit overzealous. You can't be feeling too bad about it. He's still 2-1 on the slash line, My Sweet Potato. But that closes up the XP gap and the gold gap that was starting to develop between the junglers. Now this Robin's back to even.
It's about a 1k gold lead in the game in general. Dansland obviously holding a good bit of that over Dame. 2 kills, 2 assists, 100% kill participation. Too much Xbox looking to pull something back here over in the long lane as both supports have returned home, per se, and some good damage returned from In My Zen. We'll kind of push that off to the side. I feel like Vonson has been out. He's been searching and kind of probing for these big fights early in this game on this forest, but not much has really come of it.
This huge focus on rotations from him has also netted him a slight XP loss. They haven't been able to find a fight that they really want to take, so despite all of Vonson's efforts, he's not getting any sort of engagement. He's not able to pull ahead in the XP either.
River's Rebuke just to disengage there. Freya was just awaiting in the wing, so it could have been another good fight there. That is a somewhat big ultimate, especially now with Gold Fury kind of being probed around a couple deep wards for either team right on this side of the map. So losing that River's Rebuke, you know, could be a big turn if a fighter is to break out in the next couple of minutes.
Too much Xbox likely won't be forcing any engagement off of that. Their objective fight isn't as strong as CoinPoin's right now, as they have to wait for a pick, maybe 2, before they can look towards a Gold Free or grouping up on one of these towers. So normally, when Yamoja loses her huge team fight ultimate, you'd see a team group up, try and maybe look for a Gold Free, but right now it doesn't seem like Too Much Xbox is very comfortable with the state of the game. So instead, they're just going to use this opportunity to farm up efficiently. I imagine we're going to see CoinPoin try and leverage his lead, leverage their superior objective confirm around either the Pyromancer or the Gold Fury in response to one of Too Much Xbox's rotations, especially if Vonson continues rotating over to the short lane. CoinPoint are almost certainly identifying that that's been a common trend, and that they can move to the Gold Fury and start to really separate themselves in terms of gold.
Well, my Sweet Potato has slowed down just a touch after the attempted Tier 2 tower dive over there in the short lane. Just going to respawn, farm up some of that gold, and has pulled himself about a 1-level lead here. I mean, you kind of look at XP across the board. I mean, Dansland obviously is going to be ahead of Dame at this point in the game. The rotations have been just a little bit better. Cybrito maybe looking to bait in Wicked here. Has used the pluck, but the ultimate will start out here this time, and nothing else will come of it as Wicked will be able to get out of this one alive. So Freya making his presence felt over here in the soul lane. Might actually be able to turn around for the return gank. Ultimate connects down onto Wicked. We'll have the pluck available in just a moment. And there is the dash, but Tier 1 tower is no safe haven, and Freya has found his second kill of the game.
Wicked, just no long-term memory there. I mean, Freya walks in the jungle for half a second, then he moves back up to lose his life. But meanwhile, Gold Fury going to be pulled out on the other side.
And it's half HP now on the Gold Fury. Stunned down is Vonson. Tons of damage, turns around, but In My Zen will complete the execution of My Sweet Potato. The door has swung wide open here for Too Much Xbox. It's easy to look at those big numbers, top center of your screen, 4 and 3 with CoinPoin in the lead in that regard. But tower has been taken at this point in the short lane by Too Much Xbox. Might be the big difference maker as gold is pulled right back to even.
A complete state of parity now. 300 gold at this point in the game doesn't matter. What does matter is if your support just gets picked out again. Too Much Xbox just turning this game on its head.
Yeah, the vibe of this game is really turned around. This is a big fight for CoinPoint. Need to find some kills. Dansland will get himself on the killing spree, but that's the shutdown from Freya. It's a 1v1 over on the side. My Sweet Potato rotating back through from base, and Freya realizing this will try to escape. Cybrito continuing to aggress, though. My Sweet Potato ignoring one fight in search of another. Cybrito won't be able to finish off that kill, so smart play there from My Sweet Potato. Freya still on the retreat and will be able to escape this time.
I would have liked to see the group up maybe look at King Arthur. I mean, Sweet Potato has shown time and time again, this game in particular, that he's always going to be trying to sniff out these lazy backs. I don't think Freya's going to give you another shot. After you mess up the Tier 2 tower dive, at no point, I think, are we going to see any more lazy backs.
In My Zen, thought for a moment he could get aggressive. Actually dodges out a lot of the CC here, but the Typhoon will connect, and My Sweet Potato will get himself back onto the board. I mean, it was a quiet couple of minutes from the Susano after the attempted dive over onto Freya, but now has found an opening to get himself back into the kill column. I mean, you look at the junglers, some state of equity there. Freya 1 level ahead, but 3 and 4 kills respectively. The big difference maker here could be how far ahead Dansland is on this rock.
That's something you have to be concerned about, but with the level differential on Freya right now, he's going to be such a huge factor in these fights, and that's why we're starting to see CoinPoin start to target out Freya, try and look for this Raven, and make sure that he can't be a huge differentiating factor in these team fights. He's able to sit on the back line incredibly efficiently. We've seen that with his build, he's already got enough damage online that Sobek can't really ignore him. He's got Brawler's Beat Stick to deal with some of the healing coming off from Ra. He's going to be so integral to the team fight for Too Much Xbox that CoinPoin are going to have to shift their focus and shut him down, which is going to create space for Dame to play however he needs to.
It'll be very difficult to kind of deal with Freya here, and we've talked a little bit about Dansland in this Ra. He's gone pretty aggressive on his start, picked up Dual Morb first overall, so talk about a massive power spike there for him, get some extra movement speed as well, and that kind of fits into maybe the playstyle we've seen out of him. Get some extra movement speed, rotate into these fights a little bit quicker.
This is potentially the most aggressive Raw I've ever seen. I mean, Doom Orb online, that's not something you would expect to see. Normally, I would expect to see a stacking item or some more utility, like a Breastplate of Valor. Instead, he's almost playing it as if he's like a Hebo or some sort of carry, just constantly running at enemies. So if that's your playstyle, Doom Orb gonna absolutely fit it.
A storm potentially brewing over here by the Gold Fury, but it's going to be just over the Oracles, and Too Much Xbox will be able to lock that one down. We've reached 15 minutes in this game. Still, I mean, maybe call it even gold-wise. There's about a 500 gold differential here. Maybe a lot of that still continuing in the mid lane as both junglers have made themselves effective up to this point. Vonson continues to search and kind of probe for these fights, though, and as you'd expect out of this Horus, but at 0-3-1 for him specifically, it's maybe been a tough early to mid game.
Recently, he's started to shift his focus more towards farming. He's starting to hang out in mid a little bit more, leeching some of that farm there. He's rotated over back to the long lane and leached some farm there. He's been able to close up that XP gap, but he's got to look for aggression. He's got to try and group up with Freya, group up with anyone that he can, and look to constantly fight into this early game. You want to exploit the gods on CoinPoin before they hit their late game power spikes, before this Huyi gets his crit online, before Dansland decides to go into any sort of utility or get some more additional damage. You want to look for these early engagements, try and get a gold 3 off the back of it. Too Much Xbox's draft is so frontline centric that they need to force aggression as fast as they can.
Well, hey, here's some aggression, Mifflin. Vonson will move in, and Dame, well, I'm a monster, and execute away to the skies. Used up here with Cybrito in the backline. Dansland a bit caught out here. Could this be the second death of the game for the Riot? Sure is, and Dame will complete it. Sunbreaker down over onto Freya, and that's our bad kid picking up his first kill of the game, and it's a double kill on the fadeaway shot, but Dame, he's got a double of his own. Wicked doing his best to retreat beneath the safety of a tier 1 tower, but a triple kill from Dame will have something to say about it. My sweet potato, he's not going to poke his head in there. That's a big fight for Too Much Xbox.
Dame was able to free cast the entire time. He goes into the ultimate and he spends about 5-6 seconds lining up his shot because no one on CoinPoin was able to move in, able to put any sort of pressure on him. They had to deal with that front line of Bonson and Freya just running it down. They couldn't truly get through him, so Crush comes through 2-3 times. We see constant damage from Zen as well as he free casts. The front line of Too Much Xbox is doing exactly that, running directly at the enemy team, creating space, and allowing for their backline carries to do whatever it is they need to do, and they get a clean 4-for-2 exchange in favor of Too Much Xbox.
In Mifflin, I mean, so much of what we've set up to this point was, well, CoinPoin are searching for these fights. They have, you know, My Sweet Potato out to a lead. There is some semblance of equality between where the Susano and the Robin were up to this point. But it was really Dansland that was the big standout. We say, well, most of that gold differential, XP differential is there. This is completely flipped now. Dansland dives so early in that fight, he gets a couple of assists, but Dame now has picked up a clean 3 kills. He's now got a level lead. It was 2 just a moment ago. The lead in this middle lane is not only nullified, but is completely swapped teams.
One good fight is all it took. The XP, the gold that Dame just got from that engagement is so absolutely huge. And now he's also got a Soul Reaver online. Additional power,
Ouch.
additional pen. He's going to be able to blow up any of these backline divers on the side of CoinPoin. Now the dynamic shifts completely. Before it was Too Much Xbox has to find some way to shut down Dansland. Now, CoinPoin's got to do something about Dame. This guy has been running uncontested in the back line. He's been able to free cast. That can't continue. It's why you're losing these engagements. If you start to see Sweet Potato to play around the edges of these team fights, not engage them as he has been in the past, and look for Dame in the back line, we might see some shift in dynamic again. But if Dame's allowed to continue doing what he has been, which is whatever he wants, it's going to be rough going for CoinPoin.
We're going to jump right back into the action, and it's too much Xbox over on this Pyromancer. A couple moments ago, we were thinking, no chance Xbox forces these fights around the objectives, but you can feel the confidence swap here. Zen is going to get Typhoon underneath the Tier 1 tower, and that's my Sweet Potato pulling one back for CoinPoin here. So you lose a Pyro on one side of the map, but you're able to kind of slow down this Uller. 1, 2, and 4 now for In My Zen, and that's going to give, your bad kid maybe an opening here to pull a little bit of a lead in that Hunter role.
Every single bit of positive aggression coming out of CoinPoin has been off the back of Sweet Potato. If they win a team fight, it's that Sweet Potato engaged it incredibly well. If they get a gank off, it's always Sweet Potato doing it on his own. I'm worried about the 5-on-5 engagement that CoinPoin has. We haven't seen them group up as 5 and be able to leverage the stain that we expect to see out of Yamoja. Wicked hasn't rotated out of his lane in time for an engagement to start up off of his pluck. Nothing's really gone their way like that, and because of that, Sweet Potato's had to play this pseudo-support role where he's always the first one into the engagement. He's walking directly at the enemy instead of playing around the side of it. If too much Xbox group up as 5 and CoinPoin hasn't shown that they're willing to do the same, Sweet Potato can't do that against multiple members. He has to keep looking for these disjointed engagements, these 1v1s. If Xbox just group up and disallow that, I'm worried about how CoinPoin's going to be able to respond.
That's such a good point, Mifflin. I mean, it really has been my Sweet Potato kind of on that front line looking for most of these engagements. Granted, a lot of them have been picks here for CoinPoin. I wonder how much of that dynamic starts to change once we see some of the solo lane, like, heavy presence in these fights. Not that they haven't been. I mean, you look at Wicked, who now has 6 of the 10 affected kills. Cybrito with 4 of the 9 affected kills. So they've absolutely been in these fights and been present. But do you think once these big rotations start, maybe you start to see Wicked trying to open up the door a little bit, or maybe Cybrito on the other side?
I expect both of them will be frontlining, and that will open up space for Sweet Potato to play around his backline a lot more. He won't allow Dan's land to go down as easily as he did in the last engagement if he's able to just play out around the back, try and blow up anyone that's diving on their side. But too much Xbox's front line is so strong. It's not like they have just this Robin in the front line. It's not like it's just Vonson. With the 4-man core of dive that we've seen from Zen, Vonson, Freya, and Cybrito, that means that Dame should be shifting his focus to just surviving in the back line, while his 4-man squad is absolutely running it down towards Dan, or even towards Jabimi at this point. He's not that tanky yet, or Yar Bad Kid if his escape's down. They're going to have so many people running at them that you're going to have to deal with that unstoppable force that is too much Xbox dive comp. Scylla can be left alone if she uses the ultimate to escape. She can use her dash out. If she's just absorbing some aggression insofar as she doesn't die, even if she doesn't get any damage off in the engagement, she's already done her job.
Oh, Vonson's going to get aggressive here. Blink through, stun down onto Jabami. Chips the execute one more time. It's there from Dane. The River's Rebuke will crash down. Your bad kid elsewhere has found the kill over onto Vonson, so 1-for-1 trade, but that's the Aegis out for a good bit of the damage mitigation there. Typhoon through, but my Sweet Potato won't find the execute he was looking for. Cybrito will knock him up and put him right back down. It's a 2-for-1 trade with too much Xbox coming out ahead.
CoinPoin's just playing so hesitant at this point. Too much Xbox get to engage the fight. Immediately they get a free pick on a Jabimi, and then they back up a little bit. They regroup. They get ready for the Goldfear to respawn. Then my Sweet Potato says, well, we can't just lose one and get nothing. Goes in alone, gets picked out himself as the rest of Too Much Xbox start to back up and make sure that their backline is safe. CoinPoin's hesitation and disjointed team fight, they need to group up as 5 and play together. It seems like we've got too many solo agents on the Chaos side.
There was an attempted steal there from CoinPoin, but it is going to be Fury number 2. 2 of 2 in this game already are Too Much Xbox. Primal Fury this time around. And maybe a good moment here as Dame is going to rotate through, looking for the root onto Dan's land, but that one won't connect. When we brought up the Doom Orb, first item overall for this Raw, moved in to some pen with the Spear of Deso. Now a Lotus Crown to round out that Raw build where he was off to such a roaring start, maybe the obvious choice in that Doom Orb. Do you maybe open yourself up to not needing a massive power item because you've built that Doom Orb first overall?
No, I think that, again, it's a lack of focus on the build. If you want to play a utility-based Ra, you look towards more cooldown, you look to get maybe a Rod of Asclepius or a Lotus Crown or any sort of survivability item, and instead he's gone this damage-centric build. He's got Sphere of Deso, he's got the Doom Orb online, so we're looking at a Ra that should be dealing a lot of damage, but then he shifts it towards this Lotus Crown. That's slight protections, it's going to be a passive defense buff for anyone that is affected by his healing. That's all valuable in of itself, but he's not playing a utility-focused Ra. He's looking to deal maximum damage, and instead, this could have been a Soul Reaver. It could have even been a Polynomicon, so that if he does find any damage in engagement, he should be able to finish it off anyone on his own. Instead, he kind of goes halfway between fence-sitting on his build as he picks up a utility item. It's not going to really focus out, it's not going to mesh well with the rest of the damage in his kit, and it's not enough utility to make up for the fact that he's really pretty squishy at this point still.
Well, this little interaction really gives you a good mindset or a good magnifying glass where CoinPoin are right here. They have to back all the way up while Too Much Xbox complete the pyro, and the fight is in. Dame will delete Jabami chips from what looked like over half HP there to the skies is up from Vonson. Where will he choose to go? To the left. Looked like the answer here, but back towards the FG is the ultimate answer to that question. CoinPoin moving themselves in. It's Fire Giant started up in half HP now. Dansland has that Searing Pain, so execute potential there from that Ra in the mid lane, but the immediate turnaround from Too Much Xbox will put him down one final time. My Sweet Potato takes a seat, 3 down for CoinPoin, and now maybe the FG is on the menu.
Yeah, don't send your Ra in first to face check it. Send in your tanks. Don't send your Susano in first to face check the Fire Giant. Send in literally anyone else. Of course Too Much Xbox is going to peel off and take the engagement. You send a squishy target in.
Well, now your bad kid finds an opening. We'll turn around the damage onto Cybrito, who had taken a little bit too much poke. If the goal was to stop the FG, and likely that's all it was, CoinPoin were successful in that for the moment. So still 25 seconds on the respawns for My Sweet Potato and Dansland, but Too Much Xbox, they're missing Cybrito for the next 40. So, maybe lack of objective sustain there for Too Much Xbox. Cybrito thinking he has a little bit more longevity there than he really does, and your bad kid is able to delay out the FG. Your
bad kid really built this tank buster item set. He doesn't do it so he can kill the backline. Cybrito, you can't walk at him for free. Kin Size online, Titan's Bane, Executioner. He's blowing up just about anyone that gets CC'd in front of him. It's a little bit slower than he might like if you're used to seeing the crit build, but he will absolutely be able to stop any sort of continued aggression from a solo King Arthur, especially with the help of Jabami Chips finding the stun out on this Umoja, or Wicked able to find a tail whip in that engagement. Cybrito just gets a little overzealous.
Well, Wicked can't find literally anything there, and that's the setup and knockdown from In My Zen. So 3 kills now on the board for this Uller. Fire Giant is started up now. Freya, Dame just playing zone, while In My Zen and Vonson are going to do most of the damage to this FG. Scylla now rejoining. I'm a Monster is there if you're worried about execute potential to the skies used for a little bit of vision. Dame will hold on to the ultimate, and Too Much Xbox will lock down the Fire Giant for all 5 members.
I was talking over the kill onto Wicked because I didn't think there was any way he would die there, but he just watches as Too Much Xbox walk at him.
He was in the shop,
CC. Right? All of his abilities were up, Dave. I can't read that. He had Pluck. He could have just left. He had Tail Whip. He could have peeled for himself. He could have used his ultimate and walked away. And instead, he just kind of lets the warm embrace of death enthrall him. And he just goes back to base so he can check out that grayscale screen one more time. Fire Giant now on the side of Too Much Xbox. There's so many towers left on the map, and already they're sitting at a 4,000 gold lead. Gold Fury respawning as well. If they group up, take out some tier 2s, back up towards the Gold Fury on the tail end, or go for it first, they really have as much time as they want to work with. This gold lead is going to become exponentially harder to deal with. I'm thinking by the time they get to the Phoenixes, Too Much Xbox should have about 8, 6, 7, 9, 10,000 gold in the lead.
8, 6, 7, 5, 309, right?
Yeah, any one of those numbers, a lot of gold, right? CoinPoin can't deal with the siege as it is. They don't have a fantastic anti-siege comp, so there's no way they decide to defend these tier 2 towers, and if they do, it might cost them their lives in a Phoenix. They should just wait it out around these Phoenixes, wait for the back from Too Much Xbox, and pray that they can hold it down and dive deep on a Dame to kind of crush some of the aggression that Too Much Xbox has been able to use.
Well, it is 7, the ultimate number of the gold differential once the long lane Phoenix is cracked open here for Too Much Xbox. And maybe along that same vein, a little bit of a misstep of words there. This seems like a game that just kind of slipped away from CoinPoin. They had all this early game aggression. They had themselves the kills in the face of what seemed to be a game where Too Much Xbox were going to be doing most of the early game dominance. Where does this kind of slip away, in your opinion? My Sweet Potato had some early kills. Dansland off to a roaring start. Dame, you look at the difference he's had now. Starting off 0 for 1, 0 for 2, and now roaring on this Scylla. What kind of goes wrong?
CoinPoin just took too many engagements disjointed. We see them group up around the Gold Free, they group up around the Pyromancer, they group up around mid, and they just watch and allow Too Much Xbox to start off the engagement on their own foot. They have Sweet Potato up front on every single fight. That's not where you want your assassin, but he's shown that he's the only one who's been able to effectively find the engagements, so he has to play this pseudo frontliner role. From there, Too Much Xbox say, well, there's a squishy guy standing in front of us, we're all tanks, maybe we'll just blink in, set up some CC, allow Dame to free cast in the back, and CoinPoin is almost always losing at least one member at the beginning of every single engagement, so they have to play the rest of the fight on retreat. They have to play it on the back foot. They have to just maybe fight into a deficit, and it hasn't worked out for them. Jabimi hasn't found any huge ultimates to separate these fights. Wicked hasn't engaged with the Pluck even a single time. Every single bit of CoinPoin's aggression has been off the back of one of Sweet Potato's engagements, and then Dansland's damage, or your bad kid chasing out someone who's going a little bit too deep. They haven't truly started a 5-on-5 engagement of their own volition just yet, and it's starting to show. If Too Much Xbox is allowed to do whatever they want, of course what they want to do is win the fight.
Well, Vonson wants to keep the fight going, but nobody went to the skies with him. That's an opening now for CoinPoin to maybe find a kill. A little bit too deep from Vonson there. Into the base of CoinPoin he goes. And that's the signal to retreat here. There was a moment where it looked like a free kill for Freya on a Dansland. Burns the Aegis off the Raw there in that mid lane. But instead, it's now the support for Too Much Xbox that goes down. The unbridled aggression needs to be followed up with some teammate support.
Vonson, big question mark for me, but he drops his ultimate. Maybe he was assuming that the rest of his squad would go with him, but he goes between the Phoenixes alone. No one's there to help him. Even if he does, best case scenario, find a 4-man knockup, it doesn't matter. No one on the side of Too Much Xbox was in range to follow up on Vonson's engagement. CoinPoin accurately identify that, immediately collapse onto him, find the cleanest pick of their lives, and now they're able to just kind of stagnate the game a little bit, reset, get the Pyromancer for themselves, and get ready to defend the next fire.
Well, regardless of where this game is at, My Sweet Potato has reached that late game potential. Nearly found a kill over onto In My Zen. It's CyBreedo, now that's full-blown retreat. Wicked will blink over the wall here. A couple members of Too Much Xbox in range to maybe help support King Arthur. Plenty tanky enough, but that just buys him a little bit of time as Dansland will collapse for that kill. This is an opening now for CoinPoin United. Now just one member down. For Too Much Xbox, it's CyBreedo for the next 50 seconds.
Fire Giant's already respawning. CoinPoin can look to just go ahead and take out this tier 2 tower, then immediately back up, look for the Fire Giant. They have Raw Sustain. The ultimates are available for Huyi and Yamoja. They could send one member to just zone out, the rest focus on burning out this objective. They could turn the game on its head.
Wicked is looking for that, splits the uprights with his Pluck. That's a River's Rebuke to separate the fight, but Too Much Xbox are going to group together and move their way away from the crashing waves. That's a Pluck defensively from Wicked this time around, so CoinPoin may be sensing a moment to get aggressive there. Looked for it, unable to find it, but now it's the Fire Giant looking to be started up.
No relics available for Dame. If he steps up even a second too far, he's going to get plucked into the entirety of CoinPoin. They've got to feel confident going for this engagement. But now, Too Much Xbox already back in range. Vonson to the skies.
And to the left. After that one, Dame will drop down Wicked, the opening kill for Too Much Xbox here. Deep into the backline goes My Sweet Potato, but it's a double kill instead for Dame to open up this fight. This might be the one that just cracks the base for CoinPoin. Too Much Xbox fully on the chase. Nice shot from In My Zen. That's 3 in this fight for Dame. It's a double for In My Zen, and it's the deciding, likely the game for Too Much Xbox.
Yeah, 40 seconds on the nearest spawn. I think I'm pretty confident saying Too Much Xbox are going to go ahead and run away with this one. CoinPoin, again, just a degree of hesitation there. They decide we can back up to Fire Giant, or we could look for the engagement. They decide that Wicked can sit around the corner, look for the Pluck. The second he misses out, we see that CoinPoin continue chasing the enemies instead of leveraging the times they have where it's a 5 versus 4. They could have backed up to Fire Giant, forced a poor engagement that Too Much Xbox has to take. Instead, they kind of meander around. Too Much Xbox respawns, walks back up, and do what they've been doing the entirety of the game, which is holding down the W key straight into that Fire Giant, win the engagement and the game off the back end of it. I mean, you got to get a little bit more decisive, CoinPoin. If you can lock down your calls and start executing quickly, I think there's a lot. And there was plenty of times where they could have just turned that game around and made it a W.
Yeah, there's moments there specifically around that Fire Giant right towards the end. And you could get this sense of like needing to engage right then for CoinPoin. It was Wicked who was trying to pluck in, find a pick there towards the end when it was Cybrito that was down for Too Much Xbox, but the great disengage was there, and then re-engage just a few moments later. King Arthur, top damage in this game here is Dame just about 1,000 behind. I think that's maybe the biggest turnaround in this one, though, Mifflin, is Dame, where such a slow start was able to become near unkillable with relics online there towards the end. He even gets dove by My Sweet Potato in that final fight. Not too unlike the tier 2 tower dive there, but this Scylla became too much to deal with by the end of it.
She was dealing immense damage. No one on the side of CoinPoin was able to consistently dive deep onto her, so when Freya's dealing a ton of damage and is able to free cast, obviously the mid lane mage is going to start to pop off. Dame turns the game around with this triple kill, decides that he's sick of being behind Dan's land, decides to get involved in the early game, and that's exactly what Too Much Xbox draft was for. They had 4 people creating space so that Dame could pop off, and it works out.
He gets a little extra lifesteal there towards the end. My Sweet Potato nearly pulling back that kill, which could have turned that fight around, but it ended up being 3 for Dame and 2 for Zen to round out this game. The full deicide to put this one to bed. I don't want to magnifying glass it too much, but what did you see in this Raw? I mean, we talked about the build. Did it just feel kind of disjointed to you? I mean, early game it was off to a roaring start. Dan's land looked near unstoppable. But then just kind of slows down towards the end and couldn't match what the Scylla was able to.
It seemed like, to me, Dan's land really didn't want to play Ra. He was playing that Ra like a Poseidon. He was just using the passive to move around quickly. He was looking for early ganks. He wasn't using the heal and the team fights incredibly well. The entirety of CoinPoin at no point, I think, decided, okay, let's look for an elongated engagement. Let's back up, use our heal, force these constant fights around these objectives, and really use our healing to pull ahead in a war of attrition. Mm-hmm. At no point did that happen. It was, all right, let's go win. We'll use our damage. Maybe someone gets low, Searing Pain them. If you want to play a straightforward mage that deals damage, stick to Poseidon. Play Thoth. Play something along those lines. I think it'll fit that style a lot more. He even decides to pick up the Lotus Crown to help out with the healing a little bit, but even then, no one was using his heal. It could be due to the fact that CoinPoin's entire draft got kind of steamrolled in those late game engagements by the 5-on-5 dive. They weren't able to hold their ground and actually leverage the heal that way. But even when they were ahead, they weren't trying to use it. I think they would be much better off with a more standard mage.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point where you're on the back pedal so much because Xbox is just diving at you constantly. Maybe the opening just wasn't there to really utilize the heal fully there from the Rob. But that's all game 1. We'll see if in game number 2 CoinPoin is able to bounce back in. It will be a different look this time around for Dan's land. It's going to be the Raijin picked up first overall.
That's going to do it. That's raw damage potential. He's going to have a slightly weaker early
raw
game
damage
as he tries
potential?
to get that level 5. Yeah, a bit of a pun, but he's got it in spades for sure. My man deals damage. Raiju, the Taiko drums, all that. The second this Raijin hits level 5, he's going to be a huge team fight potential. We see that Dan's land is the type of guy who likes to rotate in the early game. This is going to be a lot more effective on Raijin than it was on Ra. I'm excited to see what he can do. If Raijin pulls ahead, that can cripple a game. It's way scarier than an ahead Ra.
That was such a good one. I'm so bummed at the lack of reception for raw damage potential, but we'll save some face and move on from it. I think Jingwei and King Arthur continue to be the high damage potential gods as we know, and Xbox continuing in that same vein. A little bit of scaling time up there from that Jingwei. But the King Arthur locked in certainly worked out there in game number 1. Now, on the flip side, let's take a look at this Hercules where, I mean, you talk about early game potential, high damage output, maybe throughout the game. Hercules has certainly got it.
Hercules is one of the few guys that can honestly win a 2v2 on his own. If he goes in, he finds these huge driving strikes, he's able to use the Earthbreaker to displace the enemies. He does a ton of damage, for maybe the most damage of any support possible. I would have liked to see him paired with something a little bit more aggressive than a Hachiman. On-Her comes to mind. Even Rom, something that's going to be constantly looking to fight, instead of this Hachiman who's one of the safer gods. He does have decent fight potential, but a lot of his kit really lends itself towards elongated engagements. He's looking to poke from a range, use the MP5 that comes from his kit, or use the ultimate to escape out of any sticky situation. When you have a Hercules in your lane, I almost want a pseudo-mage inside of my hunter who's just going to be constantly following up with aggression and abilities and things like that. I'm not sure that Hachiman's able to match that nearly as well as something more aggressive like a Cupid or an On-Her. But regardless, this Hercules should be able to run it down that long lane and find plenty of damage no matter who they decide to put over there.
I mean, could drop the banner for some safe ranged follow-up there from Hachiman. Excited to see, though, how that duo lane works out here for CoinPoin. Tier locked in. I mean, I was hesitating to even bring it up. Is there any world, now especially with Tier being locked in, you see flexibility between solo lane and support, or is this 99%er Tier in the solo Hercules in that support role?
I really do think it's going to be Herc support. I mean, Tier support, it's good. It's got similar facets. He's got displacement, he's got sustain, but Hercules does that all just a little bit more. His ultimate's a little bit more burst potential. Tier could flex towards the jungle. We've seen that throughout the years a couple times. He's able to have fantastic gank potential. The blink comes online. He can just immediately, if anyone doesn't have beads, they're going to be behind the enemy team. But with Camazotz getting picked up, I think that he's a much better jungler than Tier is right now. He's also a much better solo laner, which is what makes the confusion come through. So maybe CoinPoin just banking on the fact that maybe Xbox doesn't know what's happening over here either.
Yeah, if nothing else, while there's the obvious potential choices for CoinPoin, there's flexibility in those final 3 picks. We'll have to see where they choose to go in game number 2. Now, Xbox have drafted Bacchus, Erlang Shen, Discordia to round out their final 3. What do you make of the Xbox draft here for game 2?
It's consistent with the thought process that we had in Game 1. These guys are trying to run it down again. Bacchus diving the backline, Erlang, King Arthur, all these guys just going to be absolutely running it down. And if it worked out last time, we saw that CoinPoin didn't really have an answer to that aggression, so why not just do it again?
Okay, too much Xbox complete the 2-0 over CoinPoin, or will there be a bounce back here in Game 2? And it is exactly maybe how we figured it would be. It's the Tier in the solo, Jabami on the Hercules in support, and My Sweet Potato will be playing Camazotz there in that jungle. 5-man invade. That was the push through from CoinPoin, but smart play there from Vonson and In My Zen to back themselves off. But you look at the relics, Mifflin. Yeah, beads used up there. Blink as well from Vonson, both defensive or this time used defensively to get themselves out safely.
Better than losing your life. Always lose your relic before you lose first blood.
Yes.
It stops the aggression out. The purple buff invade doesn't come through now, so they should be able to, both teams look safely to just farm it out. Now you have to be worried about the kill potential in this lane. If Jabimi finds another pull, another punch onto In My Zen in the next 2 minutes, that could just be his life.
And Jabimi, rather, realizing this, is going to blink through, find himself that driving strike, but so much damage being turned around. It looked like an early winning trade there for CoinPoin, but it's really Jabimi that walks away a little bit worse for wear. It does have, not at level 1, granted, some of that sustain built into his kit later on, and Jabimi will be able to sustain himself up nonetheless.
Vonson plays incredibly well there, realizes immediately that Jabimi is going to look for that backline dive, so he starts burping onto your bad kid. Says, well, if you want to move up, you're going to deal with a stun, you're not going to be able to get up there for free and deal damage in my Zen. So the minion wave starts chunking out Jabimi. Your bad kid can't follow up on that aggression. Vonson completely shifts that fight towards a more parity state, wins out on the sustain slightly. So far, net gain 0 for both squads. The beads are still going to be down for Zen, so he still has to constantly be concerned about the pull-punch combo. But for now, Vonson does a fantastic job of just making sure that First Blood doesn't go the way of CoinPoin.
Yeah, it's kind of the interesting interaction as we move back into game here with that Bacchus. I mean, obviously with any utility in the game, it just depends on how you want to use it. Getting aggressive here onto your bad kid, that's the knock-up, but the belly flop doesn't quite connect. It's kind of that duality, the potential to be aggressive or defensive. Freya is defensive this time around. My Sweet Potato, he'll finish off the kill. Dansland is there on the assist. First blood, 1:45 in.
Freya was just trying to go into his own jungle and farm, man. He wasn't bothering
How dare you.
anybody, but CoinPoin says, you know what? We want kills. We want to win the game. Game 3 is definitely on their minds, and they find that early aggression. That's some of the failings of Erlang Shen in the jungle. If his transformation is down, he's got no safety net to rely on until level 5. So of course you're going to see constant aggression out there. Dansland has already shown that he loves fighting. He's one of the fightiest mid laners we've seen in the league. He's going to continue looking for this early push in, and now that Freya's falling behind on this Erlang Shen, if this gold lead, this XP lead continues to grow, if Sweet Potato gets to level 5 even one level earlier than Freya does, Erlang Shen from behind is nearly useless.
It's about 700 on the gold lead at the moment. A lot of that in thanks to the first blood bounty. Especially though on this Camazotz. I mean, it's similar vibe maybe to Susana, what you're looking for. Hyper carry potential, swoop through, self-sustain. I mean, it's all there for the Camazotz, so getting this started for CoinPoin, depending on how far behind now they can push Freya, it's certainly a great start for them there. And then you look at the assistance on that kill. It's Dansland getting off to another, albeit slight, but a slight lead over Dame there in that middle lane. And it's the Raijin who scales so well into that late game. I mean, it's a dream start, I think, for CoinPoin.
The same could be said of last match. I'm still worried about CoinPoint's mid-game decision-making. If they don't leverage the lead, if they don't look to force engagements that favor them, and then instead they wait for too much Xbox to farm up and decide when they want to fight, that's where we start to get some concern for CoinPoint. For now, they're in a fantastic spot. 700 gold in the lead, about 3 minutes into the game. They've got a fantastic late-game comp as well. This Raijin's going to scale incredibly well. If they decide to elongate the game like they did last match, it won't be nearly as hard to deal with, especially considering too much Xbox frontline. Still strong, not nearly as strong as it was last game. They should be able to do a defensive positioning anywhere they want, CoinPoint. And if they shift the focus of Wicked, last game we saw that he was looking to engage fights in the team fights phase. Instead, if he decides to play in the back line, make sure that Dansland's able to free cast or play safely and not have to deal with this dive comp from too much Xbox, this game should be different. It's whether or not CoinPoint have already made the adjustments that they need to deal with too much Xbox's aggression.
And Dansland, a touch more self-peel than the Ra has, although you can also use it aggressively as he's doing here. Freya, one more time, just trying to farm in his own jungle. One final swoop will do it, and that's my Sweet Potato. He's on the board for the second time this game, and the second assist as well over to the Raijin in the mid lane. Freya, at this point, has to be concerned about anywhere in his jungle, especially those the mid-harpies right in front of that red buff pit.
2 levels down now. Erlang Shen. It's 4 minutes in. Camazotz is already level 6. I like to equate the 4-minute mark on a completely even game. That's when we normally see these junglers start to hit 5. So far, Freya's missed that point, and CoinPoint, my Sweet Potato, he's passed it up. You gotta be concerned now. Freya can't look for a continued aggression. He gotta play a little bit further back. He needs to catch up in XP. If he falls behind even anymore, if he gets another death to his name, CoinPoint is going to be able to absolutely steamroll team fights as Freya plays this catch-up game. And I said it earlier, Erlang Shen, worthless from behind. Right now, he's only got boots and a tier 1 mace. He's missing power spikes across the board.
Well, this could open up the killing in this game for too much Xbox, and it is able to do so, but not after losing Freya for the 3rd time this game. Brutal start to this one for the too much Xbox jungler, but that's not all she wrote just yet for this fight. My Sweet Potato is here on the assistance as well. No bat out of hell. There will be a stun down, but he's going to leap out of it, keep himself alive there. So the damage potential certainly at an all-time high, but a 1-for-1 trade. But again, it's Freya now for the 3rd time this game. All 3 of CoinPoint's kills on the Xbox jungler.
And Freya doesn't have his ultimate available anymore, so his already lacking gank potential is going to go down even further as he waits for that to come back online. Too much Xbox need to shift their focus. Now it's just deal with the engagement from CoinPoint, play safely, make sure that Freya can farm back up, get involved again, and then group up, then try and dive deep. Maybe force out Dansland's ultimate, and then group up around an objective and dive as hard as you absolutely can. Dan already, despite not having any kills to himself, 3 assists, a level lead, he's going to be the huge differentiating factor in these team fights. You have to shut him down and then start to disperse yourself through the team fight. Maybe look for the next priority target, My Sweet Potato or Your Bad Kid. Right now, too much Xbox are on damage control. It's only about 1,100 gold in the lead for CoinPoin, but that's not what you want to see from this early game draft that Too Much Xbox has. You don't draft Erlang Shen to lose. You don't draft anyone to lose, but you certainly need some early game aggression coming out of your warrior jungle.
And especially when you, I think, start to compare what happened in Game 1, where it was really Freya who wasn't kind of getting dove on repeatedly. It was Dame in that mid lane who drew a lot of pressure. There is a potential gank for Freya here in the solo lane, but Jabami Chips is rotated through as well. Could be a 5-6 man affair here by the blue buff of CoinPoin United, but Wicked will be able to leap away. Jabami Chips drops down the boulder. Freya taken quite low, and it's Jabami Chips who finally execute the kill. Cybrito, he's still in it as well, searching for a kill, but Dansland, he'll put him down with nothing to show for it. A 2-kill swing now for CoinPoin. Still maybe more on the menu here, Mifflin, as it's Dame who's knocked back and looking for his tier 1 tower.
Man, Freya is getting absolutely ran down every single step of the way, almost like Dame is. Every single person.
Ooh, nice.
CoinPoint doesn't care who they're going on. They're chasing everyone into the towers.
That's a big silence there as well from Dansland to keep Vonson right where he was, and a double kill for My Sweet Potato. 4-0-2 on this Camazotz, 8 minutes into the game. I mean, talk about dire straits. You're 8 minutes in, you're down by 2.5, 3k gold, and it's a Camazotz on the enemy team with a 2-level lead and 4 kills on your jungler. This is such a different look. Similar, albeit, but maybe different in the sense that everything seems to be working this time from CoinPoin, and if you continue to play through and around My Sweet Potato, this is your game to lose already 8.5 minutes in.
Yeah, level 9 Camazotz matching the highest level on the side of Too Much Xbox just 8.5 minutes into the game. There's no one that Sweet Potato is not winning a 1v1 against. There's probably no one that he's losing a 2v1 against at this point. Too Much Xbox, however, have just been continually looking for aggression, continually looking to dive everywhere across the map. It's not working out. Freya is spending so much time ganking. He's already behind. He needs to get some XP online. He needs to get some tankiness or some additional damage so that he's some sort of threat. Because right now, anytime an engagement starts up, Freya's the first one down. Then anyone who's been trying to help him out in the engagement on the side of Too Much Xbox, yeah, he's going to follow behind because there's no damage output from your jungler. You're not going to be able to get that damage online miraculously by throwing your body at people. You have to farm up the jungle, clear out these back camps, clear out the neutral objectives, do something besides just walking at the enemies. Dansland and Sweet Potato, they're completely content allowing Too Much Xbox walking in their jungle and just forfeit their lives.
This is a, maybe a zoomed out conversation, but you obviously being our in-house resident jungler, what do you make of this whole warrior in the jungle conversation? I mean, obviously a lot of it has started up around Sino. Freya, this is not maybe the best opportunity to look at what they've been able to do because we've seen what Sino is able to do. Does the whole warrior in the jungle meta, kind of in a zoomed out perspective, make some sense?
Warrior jungle meta rolls into Smite every couple of years. Last time we really saw it hit its stride was like Season 4, Season 5. We were seeing warriors all the time. What warriors do in the jungle better than assassins is control the early game pace. Warriors can fight from level 1, and they want to. They want to continue fighting. Level 2, level 3, they can take these prolonged engagements. They have very good scaling just based off of levels. Whereas assassins have to get some items online. Maybe you start to think of crit when you think of Mercury, or you think of penetration or something like that for Nausea. They need these sort of items so that they can be these late game hyper carries, whereas warriors are just trying to facilitate the rest of their team.
Well, the facilitation here is over on Devonson. That's the 8 kill of the game. Now for CoinPoin, airstrike for In My Zen, looking for the kill. Leap through, but it's a double kill for Dansland. Dame will rotate over, grab a kill onto this Discordia, so finally something on the board for Too Much Xbox. My Sweet Potato taking low, but look at that sustain. Freya will finally be able to shut him down. The Thunder Crash in from Dansland, his second now of this fight. You're losing, I mean, it's a 3-for-2 trade, albeit, but still Too Much Xbox are able to walk away with a few kills.
That's the first time we saw Freya able to land more than 3 auto attacks in a team fight, and it works out for them. Coincidentally, it's also the first time that we see Too Much Xbox not really being the initiators of the fight, instead taking a defensive positioning around their own jungle and allowing CoinPoin to step up a little bit too far. That's gonna be their way back into the game. That's the only way that they can take some engagements and not just outright lose it. Take it on your own home turf. Right now, it's only about 2, maybe 3,000 gold in favor of CoinPoin. No objectives been started up from either squad. If CoinPoin decide to just keep this pace slow, if they decide that, well, that engagement on the enemy jungle didn't work, let's just slow down and farm ourselves up, Too Much Xbox are going to benefit from it greatly. They haven't been able to win a single engagement except for this one. If they've done enough to dissuade CoinPoin from continually just going aggressive, that's fantastic for them.
Wow, the turnaround from Cybrito is there. Freya is here to play as well. What a drawn-out fight. My Sweet Potato, he'll get the kill nonetheless, and now it's Freya level 10 against a 5-1-5. Camazot's still feeling aggressive, though, is going to back himself off. That's beautiful play, I think, by Cybrito, just to delay that one out. Wicked blinks through, looking dire there for just a moment. Jabami is, though, going to rotate over. It's a level 10 Hercules, a level 10 Erlang Shen. Nice 9 turns Blessing to pull a couple in, but ultimately, maybe a little bit too much damage. The heal is big here to maybe delay any re-engage from CoinPoin. And now Vonson will rotate over to complete the support presence here in the solo lane. And ultimately, as we stand, as drawn out as it was, it's a 1-for-1 trade with both solo laners going down.
That's still going to be a net positive for Too Much Xbox. Anytime they trade out anything evenly with the deficit that they're at, they've got to feel good about it. Now CoinPoint going to start up the first objective of the game, trading this aggro back and forth. But Dame, already there, loses the ultimate.
That would have been a great start. Actually, technically connects onto Jabami in the back line. Certainly not his priority target there. It is enough, though, Mifflin, to delay CoinPoint from continuing and potentially even finishing off that Gold Fury. Our bad kid has beads as well as the ultimate to get out alive. And we've now seen a couple times where Too Much Xbox look to rotate over onto your bad kid, maybe find a pick here in this long lane. I feel like maybe in a similar vein to how defensive a Jing Wei can be, it's got to be so tough to put that many eggs in ganking a Hachiman.
I mean, yeah, dash, CC immune ultimate that speed boosts him across the map while he rides a horse. It's the second safest hunter in the game, and it's not that close, but he is still incredibly safe. Jingwei, obviously the safest guy in the game. Even when you do get forced back, you can just fly back in the lane. But this defensive positioning from both teams in the hunter role is going to continue forcing the fight to happen around the Gold Fury.
My Sweet Potato, he jumps onto In My Zen here. That's bad out of hell. All 3 swoops used, but In My Zen will pop the Aegis to mitigate that final chunk of damage. See, knockback not there. Wicked looking to engage. He's got 4 members of Too Much Xbox looking at him here. Jabami will toss down the boulder as well. Watch out for the backside. My Sweet Potato is going to rotate through. Dansland will melt down some final damage from the Tycho drums of My Sweet Potato. He's here to play as well. Freya is going to get Raiju'd, but the follow-up slow and damage hasn't been there. There it is. That Erlang Shen's not getting away. A double kill for My Sweet Potato. Too Much Xbox, only able to get 1.
Hold on, the fight's not over. In My Zen gets some aggression himself, loses out on the beads, but has to force Wicked back off. Gold Fury hasn't been pulled out just yet, but CoinPoint, no one's alive. Might as well just go for it. Any 2 members should be able to blow it up. So what was already a good fight in favor of them is only going to get better as Gold Fury gets stripped away. Too Much Xbox, they keep taking these engagements, they keep taking these fights, and the gold and XP deficit between the junglers is continuing to grow. Now Sweet Potato level 15, 3 levels up on his opposition. We're starting to see some utility coming out from this Erlang Shen, but it's not defense and it's not damage, so he's not going to be able to survive these fights for too much longer. He's not dealing any more significant burst damage, so the value of this Erlang Shen is only going down even further. Winged Blade is something that you normally pick up if you expect to have a lead going into the fight, or if you know that you can stick to the backline safely. It's going to help you do it even more. Right now, he doesn't have a lead, and he's not sticking anywhere safely. This Winged Blade might just be for survivability, and even then, it's not enough. The damage output from CoinPoin is displayed to be just way too high.
Right, he's obviously feeling a little extra pressure with the slow potential that CoinPoin bring to the table, so slightly defensive there from Freya. Maybe we'll help him stay alive in a few more of these fights. It really seems like the chaos side of the map has just been kind of forfeit since the onset of this game. I mean, you look at how the first few kills got on the board for CoinPoin, all of them onto Freya at the beginning, all of them on Freya's side of the map, whether it was Harpies, Red Buff, whatever it was. CoinPoin brought to the table this game maybe what we expected Xbox to be doing in game number 1. The early aggression, the jungle invades have just worked out, and now you've got a jungler that is 4 levels behind, equal with the support there for CoinPoint. It's going to be a long road back into this one, I think, for Freya. Maybe you're just hoping to provide some utility in some of these fights if a big objective is started up.
Just look for long-range pins, maybe trade your life for an ultimate to set up some huge damage from Dame, but he can't expect to be the one differentiating these fights. He can't expect that he's going to have the damage output that puts someone in the dirt. He's just got to be there to help out his backline. Maybe we even see Freya shift his focus towards more of a support role as he tries to peel out for Dame, because right now, diving the backline, nearly worthless for this Erlang.
Well, it's Vonson who dives on in, but he's deleted by a handful of ultimates from CoinPoin, handful being 2. Dame will toss out the ultimate as well. Vonson never got the chance, so it's 2 ults in exchange for 1 and a kill. And CoinPoin are going to be happy to take that one as they'll pick up the Pyromancer as well.
Pyromancer, Fire Giant, another team fight. CoinPoint can do literally no wrong at this point. No one's going to be able to move in on the side of Too Much Xbox to contest this. And if they do, it's going to be their life. If Cybrito goes in alone, he's going to die. They'll just reset the Fire Giant and try again.
Well, Mifflin Cybrito is in there alone here, and he is taking, albeit mitigating as well, a good bit of damage. Freya, 9 turns Blessing, pulls back in a couple as well. The King Arthur might not be long for this world, and Dansland will finally put him down. In My Zen, though, gets himself on the board for the first time this game, and it's a shutdown over on a Dansland, but Yar Bad Kid will answer back as well. It's an airstrike back beneath the gap between Tier 1 and Tier 2 tower. Somewhat low health bars, My Sweet Potato. Jabami do have some self-sustained there. Wicked, obviously, a little bit as well, but maybe a touch too low and not enough reinforcements just yet to start up the FG.
I take it back. Too Much Xbox do enough there to stop the Fire Giant push. In My Zen gets a fantastic rotation in, finds the damage that he needs to into Dansland off the back of some nice CC from Bonson. That's good play. Trading out 2 for Dansland is absolutely value at this point in the game. Now Fire Giant won't be contested. It likely won't be grouped up on again for a couple of minutes as Oni Fury is starting to spawn up pretty soon. Too Much Xbox do enough to elongate the game. Now they need to go back, try and farm up, close out the XP gap while they wait for this next objective to be started up.
Well, it's 2,000 gold, as you point out there. It is still a moment, or 5,000 rather, gold, as you point out. It is, you still kind of get these vibes where Too Much Xbox, you know, they are backing away. They're not kind of accepting these full-on big engagements, but a lot of the deaths have been maybe one guy just out of position. Last time it's Cybrito, just kind of in the middle of a few members of CoinPoin, just trying to check, see if Fire Giant has started up. This is still a Too Much Xbox team that, despite being 3 levels down in the jungle, 3 levels down in the mid lane, something we haven't really touched on all that much, 2 levels down in the support, they're not shying away, still maybe opening the door up to a pick here or there. And Fury, you talk about objectives, that's going to be the next opening. CoinPoin absolutely have the lead in this game, still far ahead. But this one's not over just yet, especially the more this game goes on, Freya continuing to catch up to My Sweet Potato.
You only hit level 20 once. The second Sweet Potato hits 20, Freya is going to constantly be catching up in farm. The second he's level 18, the last 2 levels aren't going to matter too much. It's going to become more about gold and defense at that point for whether or not Freya can stick in these fights. And one clean engagement from Too Much Xbox is enough for them to get back in this game completely.
Well, it's Cybrito continuing to be big frontline engage here for Too Much Xbox. Jabami a bit on his own here off to the side, but smart from Too Much Xbox to not fully engage as the rest of CoinPoin just lurking around the side. In My Zen, building a bit into that crit category, so this Jingwei certainly is going to start to hit a little bit harder the more this game goes on. No Spectral Armor for CoinPoin just yet, so the crits will be hitting for their full value. It's Oni Fury, half HP, Too Much Xbox hanging close by. Jabami, Wicked, both on the front line. My Sweet Potato, the gap there in the middle. Blinks exchanged. Either way, deep backline dive, but Dansland is able to Tycho drums his way back to safety. Plenty of damage being returned in, and it's My Sweet Potato who finds the opening kill, and Xbox are not able to get rid of Dansland in that mid lane. Full-on retreat mode here. Cybrito's not able to make it away. It's a double kill for My Sweet Potato, and the chase is on. Too Much Xbox, they're on retreat.
It was a clean engagement idea. The chase is certainly on. In My Zen's going to have his ultimate forced out. Dame's hiding inside his stealth. That's not going to last for too long. The damage output isn't there anymore for Too Much Xbox. They can't turn this fight. The front line of CoinPoin is too strong, but the idea was there. We saw that engagement start up. They allow CoinPoin to pull out the gold tree, and then immediately, once it falls low, Freya dives deep into the backline, tries to shut down Dansland. He just doesn't quite have the damage available. Dansland lives with maybe less than 200 health. That's a real tearjerker if they're able to catch him out, and if Freya lives that engagement, the fight goes completely differently. But the backline peel from Sweet Potato backing up to help out. Jabimi backs up. Your Bad Kid shifts his focus towards Freya in that engagement as well.
Oh, no.
It was just enough.
Well, Fire Giant has started here. I'll touch on the Fury that was stolen away in just a moment. Too Much Xbox, they dive in. Not able to steal away the FG. This might be the back-breaking fight. My Sweet Potato a moment ago steals away the Oni Fury. Look at Freya, though. He's able to win this engagement over onto My Sweet Potato, but Fire Giant, Oni Fury, both locked down here for CoinPoin. Too Much Xbox lose 2 members. In the meantime, 4 players strong with the FG buff.
That's a clean trade. Freya nearly loses his life to My Sweet Potato, who was a quarter health when he landed from his ultimate. Almost still wins that engagement, but Freya picking up that kill means that one dive agent on the side of CoinPoint won't be able to do it nearly as easily. So just in trading out that kill, getting that Fire Giant buff off of Sweet Potato, Freya creates a ton of space for Dame in this next engagement. It means that no matter what, Zen won't have to be worried about getting blown up before he can get his ultimate online. The damage to structures should be a little bit lower since Sweet Potato doesn't have Fire Giant either. But still, 4 members strong on the side of CoinPoin with Fire Giant, 2 of which being fantastic frontliners. They don't have to worry about sieging these objectives. Sweet Potato losing it out is nice for Too Much Xbox, but it's still, having your Fire Giant on a jungler might be one of the, if not the lowest impact roles to lose it out on.
And I was going to mention it just prior to the big batch of fireworks we saw there with Fury and Fire Giant. Player damage, Dame is at the top of the charts. That's a 1-4 Discordia, 3 levels behind Dansland, the mid lane counterpart there. So Dame, despite being, I mean, not to mince words, pretty far behind where Dansland is at this point in the game, has been able to provide about 3,000 more damage. The burst and continued repeated ability usage possibility, I suppose, of this Discordia certainly showing here and might have a good chance to help turn around a Phoenix defense.
Yeah, I think it was Finch that said it to me that dealing damages on mages from behind might be the easiest thing. I think his exact wording was, "Oh, you're gonna walk at me while I run away? I guess I'll just throw an ability behind me." And that's why you often see these behind mages that have been losing every single engagement still able to deal sizable damage numbers. It makes sense. Discordia has Strife for the self-peel. He's been getting dove a lot. He's able to throw out the Unruly Magic. But even when you look at these individual engagements, if he finds the Strife Unruly Magic combo, the damage output in of itself in that singular engagement is incredibly low compared to what Dansland is able to do. Dansland's damage is much more effective at this point, because if you get hit by Raiju or in a Taiko drum, that's half your health. Unruly Magic Strife might be doing a quarter to these big tanky frontliners on the side of CoinPoin.
While there's so much differential, and mid lane obviously being one of them, the one role with some semblance of equality at this point is In My Zen and Your Bad Kid in that Hunter role, both level 20. In My Zen completed the build with 1 item soon to follow. Could be building into that Titan's Bane if that's where his eyes look. But it's something I mentioned earlier on. Jingwei, as she moves into this late game, as well as Dame fighting beneath these Phoenixes, could be a big turning point if the fight tends to swing Too Much Xbox's way.
In My Zen elects to go the crit build. It's going to be really nice with Jingwei's explosive bolts. If he finds any auto attack onto Dansland or he finds any squishy target, he'll immediately eviscerate them.
Well, Dansland is being eviscerated here, and it's the airstrike 1 final auto. In My Zen has found the opening kill in this Phoenix defense fight. Jabami Chips was in the backline, but it's a double kill now for this Jingwei. Low health bars for Too Much Xbox, but I'm not sure enough damage is there. Dame will get a kill as well. My Sweet Potato just now joining the fight. It was mid lane Phoenix. It was in the eyesight of the CoinPoin jungler there. 1 down now as Wicked will find the kill. Swooping through is My Sweet Potato. And now 2 kills for CoinPoin on the turnaround, but Freya will drop down the Kamazat. It's Wicked against the world. He's on the chase up against Vonson. The stun not up in time. The knock-up is there. This is messy back and forth, but it's Too Much Xbox for the moment out ahead.
Too Much Xbox do come out ahead on kills, but they lose out on their Phoenixes. They're not able to return really anything here. Fire Giant's no longer available. Gold Fury hasn't spawned yet. Wicked's likely not gonna die. They stop the siege in that they only lose one Phoenix, which is nice, especially considering the huge lead that CoinPoin had, but they're gonna have to do it again. They're gonna have to do it multiple times at this rate if that's how the engagement's gonna turn out, if they want to return to a state of equity on the map. Fire Giant respawning in about 20 seconds, too much Xbox doing the exact same thing. I'm not sure that CoinPoin really has the potential to move up past their Phoenix line. They might just have to give up another Fire Giant.
Now we have reached that point where everyone save Jabami is level 20, so the XP catch-up is in full swing. Freya level 20, same with My Sweet Potato, despite a 3-level discrepancy earlier on. Full build minus one final bit of protection utility to round out the build there. I mean, despite a 13k gold differential, Mifflin, we have now maybe reached the point finally 27 minutes in where it's closer than it's been since the game started.
Yeah, we're starting to get the levels back. The builds are starting to finish out. It is closer, but the map pressure right now has got to be something that Too Much Xbox has to be concerned with. They do only lose out on the middle Phoenix, which is one of the easier Phoenixes to defend while simultaneously contending a Fire Giant, but the frontline presence, Wicked, still doing a fantastic job zoning it out. Fire Giant now at 50%.
Freya's not close by either. Big strife from Dame will pull back in 3, but the disengage is complete. Dansland a bit caught out here. Freya, he's going to find a free Raijin sitting there. Thunder Crash used defensively. That's a big cooldown. That's now down. Stun back onto Dansland. Can they finally find the kill? Yes, they do. But it's double kill from Dame that has now maybe turned this fight around. Your Bad Kid has one in this engagement as well. But it's only the support for Too Much Xbox that is down. Your Bad Kid, he can't escape. It's 3 members down suddenly from CoinPoin, and that might be the opening for a Fire Giant.
What a clown fiesta of an engagement. Too Much Xbox, all of them, all 5 members, Discordia and Jingwei included, decided to dive head first into that engagement. CoinPoin probably just wasn't ready for that. We saw that Sweet Potato was trying to go deep, but immediately the rest of Xbox walks directly past him and tries to find the kills on a Dansland, on a Yar Bad Kid, and they absolutely do. If you can't survive a backline dive, just become a frontliner yourself, is the idea that I'm starting to pick up from Too Much Xbox, and they just walk it down and win out on the fight. Fire Giant trying to get sold out by Sweet Potato. That's nuts if it works. I'm just not certain that it will.
Well, FG is at half HP, and My Sweet Potato is above that, so for the moment, the trade has been going for this Camazotz. Too Much Xbox lurking close by. My Sweet Potato just now dipping beneath half, but will sustain himself up a little bit higher. It's the one-on-one battle between FG and My Sweet Potato. And My Sweet Potato, he's going to win this one. CoinPoin sneak away the FG. Big play there from My Sweet Potato, and that is at a moment where it looks like Too Much Xbox have turned this game around. They get a 3-for-1 fight, but a big play from the Camazotz to steal the FG away.
Is that allowed? My man doesn't have any lifesteal in his build. That's all just Camazotz passive
Yeah, that
sustain.
seems good.
I don't think that's okay. I'm pretty sure that's illegal. Now 5 members strong with Fire Giant. The mid Phoenix just respawns for Too Much Xbox. They were able to stop one siege before because CoinPoin decided to split it up and have a 3-2 stack inside of left and mid. And Too Much Xbox just ignore the 2 and take the 5 versus 3 and win out there. I don't think CoinPoin's going to have to do that exact same thing again. With the mid-Phoenix being so low, if they decide a 5-man stack on that, it should go down relatively easily. Then they can group up on 5 on the next objective, while Too Much Xbox have to contend with fire minion waves. I don't know, man. Sweet Potato, that's illegal. Like, you shouldn't be able to do that, but somehow he just was. And Too Much Xbox weren't aware of it. I wasn't aware of the possibility before this, and now I'm going to be keeping my eyes on every single Camazotz jungle in the future, worried that he might be soloing Fire Giant.
Well, it is a 11-3-10 Camazotz, so I suppose if there's anyone who's going to be able to do that, it'll be My Sweet Potato here. Remember, he soloed out that mid lane Phoenix last time in the engagement, while the rest of the fight technically went in the favor of Too Much Xbox. Here is the blink in from Vonson. He'll leap his way out as well. My Sweet Potato and Freya doing battle in the mid lane. Dame kind of flexing back and forth depending on where he's needed. But Freya has to go back. I mean, this should be a mid lane Phoenix that goes down, but My Sweet Potato takes some good damage.
This Phoenix Siege is going to be so integral for the fight. CoinPoin know that if Too Much Xbox win this one again, they've already displayed that they're able to fight in incredibly well. So CoinPoin's got to feel that pressure. They feel like they have to win out on this Siege. They have to get at least 2 Phoenixes because Too Much Xbox are slowly closing that golden XP gap.
Oh, they're taking low on the left side. CoinPoin thinking about engaging. Bonson deleted from the game. It's a double kill from your bad kid. Freya winning an engagement against My Sweet Potato. He blinks through. Is the sustain enough? Not this time. Dame's still alive. Will Strife back in a couple. In my Zen, he's still alive, and he's pouring out damage in the back line. It's a mid lane Phoenix down. 2-for-1 trade elsewhere on the map. CoinPoin out ahead, and it looks like the left side Phoenix, it'll go down as well, and I think they're going to be able to disengage to top it off.
2 Phoenixes for free. In
Maybe
my Zen
not.
wants to go win. Wicked, you're dashing into this?
In my Zen is going to turn around the damage. Spectral Armor be damned, and Freya, he'll pick up the kill. Your bad kid will ultimate his way through, but in my Zen, he's got himself some damage to turn around. Aegis popped. Aegis down. In my Zen, he's turned around this fight and maybe turned around the game. Now it's Wicked. Full-blown retreat. Freya does not have the root back on a cooldown. It looks like Wicked will get out alive, so... Alright, time to recap. You got a mid lane Phoenix down, a left side Phoenix down, but it's 4 for 2 or 3 on the turnaround. Now the respawns from the original fight are back up, so hard to keep track of that one, but it's a successful defense nonetheless for Too Much Xbox.
Sweet Potato takes out the mid Phoenix on his own, but he has to trade out his ultimate there, lose about 90% of his health as well, rotates into the fight, gets shut down, and from there, Too Much Xbox just kind of stick in deep. They make sure that Zen stays alive and is almost able to artificially create multiple 2-on-2 engagements that Zen's just able to win out on because he decides to go into this crit build. We saw that the 1v1 between the ADCs in this game happened around that back camp, and immediately Zen just wins out because he's swinging for 400, 500, even 800 on a couple of his auto attacks, whereas the Tank Buster build coming out of Hachiman wasn't quite able to match that damage in a 1v1 situation. So that's clean play from Too Much Xbox, but by that same note, they still do lose out on 2 of their Phoenixes, the long lane Phoenix and the mid lane Phoenix, the 2 highest priority Phoenixes in the game. Now the only one left standing is on that solo side. You're not going to be too worried about having to defend that one as Fire Giant respawns, but having those Fire Minion Waves flood in means that the slight presence that we saw from Too Much Xbox on the last Fire Giant is going to be cut again as they have to deal with all this building pressure on the map.
And it's Cybrito who's going to move his way over to the long lane pressure. No upgraded teleport just yet, so something to be mindful of if there is a Fire Giant fight that starts to break out. In my Zen obviously has been the big target of conversation and the target of defensive build presence here. 2 Spectral Armors picked up. It's Wicked and Jabami, both in that front line area, who are going to try to mitigate In My Zen as much as possible because, I mean, make no mistake, look at the jump that In My Zen has had. It's still Dame far and away ahead, but In My Zen now second in the game in damage. Cybrito looks to round his way behind the back. Dan's Land is going to pull some damage through as well. Tycho drums, but Cybrito has no chance here in this fight, but maybe he's done his job. Maybe he's locked down My Sweet Potato. Cybrito will fall to the Kamazat's a defensive bat out of hell. Freya moves his way in. 1-for-1 trade. Rampaging. Talk about the turnaround for Freya in the jungle. But the health just a little bit too low as Wicked will find a shutdown as well. Vonson, he's in full-blown retreat mode. It's going to be In My Zen and his support, and maybe not even that. In My Zen potentially against the world here on a defense.
It's likely the best member that you could have on this world-saving, miraculous defense, but again, he's got to deal with Raijin damage. There's still a Hunter online. 2 frontliners are going to be walking at Zen. He's going to have to play perfectly, and CoinPoin are going to have to play pretty poorly for them not to be able to end the game here. I'm excited to see it, because you never know what's going to happen in the SOC. Fantastic speeds usage, but that Titan still taking a lot of damage. Zen not quite able to move up.
That's going to be it, Mifflin. The Titan's going to get melted down. In My Zen, he kept him in the game, but he's not going to be able to win it. CoinPoin make good on a great early game. It's a little bit more drawn out maybe than I think they were hoping and maybe expected. But nonetheless, CoinPoin take game number 2 and tie up the set.
Still, even when they have that early game lead, they don't push it overly so. They don't group up for early Gold Furies. I think the first Gold Fury we saw that game was around the 16-minute mark. They don't look to force objectives around mid-towers or anything like that. Even when they finally do, around that 25-minute mark, pick up their first Fire Giant, they still had 6 towers to contend with, or 5 rather. The Soul Lane Tower was down. And that's because they aren't really doing anything to force their lead onto these objectives. They're not grouping up around these towers. They're not grouping up around Gold Fury. CoinPoin is just winning out around the map through individual engagements, and then if they're lucky and they pick up enough kills, then they start to look towards these more neutral objectives.
Those Dans land on the Raijin, not, without some speed bumps along the way. There was some good focus there on the CoinPoin mid laner. My sweet potato, though, obviously the talk of conversation I think we need to have here after this game. Double-digit kills, double-digit assists, single-digit deaths. By the end of it all. I mean, the Camisots did slow down, and you saw what Freya was able to do by the time this game started to roll into the late game, rampaging after a 0-3 start on an Erlang Shen. I mean, the comeback was there, but I don't think you can make a mistake that my sweet potato had maybe the largest hand in this victory here for CoinPoin.
Single-handedly, he removed Freya from the first 25 minutes of this game. I mean, doing that in of itself, had he not also killed everyone else multiple times, that's enough. But instead, he decides that he wants to rampage on literally everyone on the map. He takes these late-game engagements, he takes these deep engagements in the enemy jungle, and he's just able to control the pace. Freya has to be frustrated off the beginning of that game. I think he started that off 0-4. I mean, that's got to be a feels bad.
Well, we are tied up here in the SOC finals over in North America. 1-1, big bounce-back game there. Can they do it again in game number 3? That's the big question. Wait until after this break to find out.
I shouldn't doubt you. I'm all up in my head when I'm without you. I start to lose my shit. I just been hurt before. Stranger's t-shirt on my bedroom floor. Excuse me for being suspicious. It's just that I get so confused. I love it when it's only me and you, doing all the things we know we shouldn't do. This is way too good, it can't be true. So tell me what your game is, girl. When you touch me, feel so good, I can't contain it. When you love me, I'm so confident, yeah. When you say I'm the only one, I must admit it. I get suspicious, just a little suspicious. I get suspicious, just a little suspicious. I get suspicious, just a little suspicious. So tell me what your game is, Cause I haven't slept for days, not slept for days, yeah. Baby, love is never painless, no. Excuse me for being suspicious. When you touch me, feel so good, I can't contain it. When you love me, I'm so confident, yeah. You said I'm the only one, I must admit it. I get suspicious, just a little suspicious. 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 I get suspicious.
We are back from break and right into picks and bans for game number 3 between Too Much Xbox and CoinPoin United. Now, there's not been a lack of early game kills here in this set so far, Mifflin. Game 1, pretty much to be expected, I think. We saw Horus and Uller. So much early game in the draft there for game 1, but it was maybe overextension or over-aggression potentially from CoinPoin that brought them some early kills in game number 2 here. I don't imagine that there's much pick ban that changes, though, going into game number 3. Uller is a bit of a difference, though.
Getting rid of the Uller, that's smart. I mean, that god almost single-handedly brought pressure into game 1 for the duo lane on the side of CoinPoin. I really like the play in general from both squads, but overall, The Xbox boys have been drafting incredibly aggressive throughout the entirety of the set. They've been looking to get early aggression rolling out. We see warrior jungles, we see these high pressure supports, but consistently they've been losing out in the early game engagements. Even in game 1, where Xbox find the dub, they don't win the early game fights. It was around level 15 that this triple, quadruple backline dive strat starts to work out for them. If they want to continue drafting for the early game, they're going to have to shift up their playstyle a little bit, find aggression that's going to work out in favor of them, so they can transition smoothly into the mid game.
Well, Dame has been absolutely pivotal for Too Much Xbox, both in the win and the loss, and in kind of keeping them in the game. Big damage numbers, specifically from the Discordia in game number 2, despite being on the losing end. Jingwei, Merlin both locked in here from CoinPoin. Raijin was pretty pivotal to the game 2 success for CoinPoin. But you look at late game damage potential, Jingwei and Merlin are the first couple maybe that come to mind.
Taking away the Raijin is going to work out. Merlin's a lot harder to play. His safety is a lot harder to use. His flicker is shorter distance than Raijin's Thunderclap. But even then, just taking away Raijin and still leaving up this insanely high priority mage inside of Merlin, it's not enough. You've not done enough to shut down the enemy mid laner. But the addition of the pickup of Hercules, we continue to see an aggressive jungler coming out of Xbox. Then you can start to leverage that with the additional aggression that Raijin allows, and that 3v3 strength of the support jungle mid stand-up from Xbox. Maybe we start to see them actually win out in these early game engagements. CoinPoin picking up Kuzenbo, though. That's saucy, and that's one of the few guys in the game that says, oh, you landed your skill shot on me? Let me punish you for that. Take some damage.
Yeah, and I think that's a good conversation to have, kind of the overarching way that all of these games have gone. It's been CoinPoin out in the lead early in both of the games. It's just Xbox were able to successfully delay in game 1, almost successfully in game number 2. So that's got to be, I think, the first thing to address here, whether it's in picks and bans or just in play style for Xbox. Let's not give up first blood or the first few kills this time and see if we can win it just the old-fashioned way without having to stall out and come back in. Daji will make that somewhat difficult. Obviously, high damage and high utility potential depending on where those Palaos will hit. Jormungandr for the first time here in this set. Do you like him in the solo lane?
Yeah, I love him. I mean, Ducky's shown us that it's
go.
a god that doesn't have to play nearly as passively as we've seen in the past. With the addition of the E-Staff, Spear of Deso build that we're starting to see picked up on this Jormungandr, not only is he disrupting backline, but now he actually has kill potential on his own. That's going to fit Xbox's draft perfectly. Again, what do we see? A 3-man core of dive. Go on you, Hercules, Jormungandr, all going to be running down CoinPoin's backline. Xbox hasn't seen early game aggression work out for them just yet, but it hasn't dissuaded them from trying yet again.
All right, one more time. We'll see who comes out ahead between CoinPoin and Too Much Xbox. It's a similar vibe, though, from what we've seen, where Too Much Xbox moved their way early into the CoinPoin United side of the jungle. This time won't end up doing much for it. So maybe potential for a standard start here. Move back, grab your purple buff. No need to be overly aggressive on the invade just yet.
I like it. It's a degree of just safety. They're showing respect that they haven't shown just yet on the side of Too Much Xbox. Yeah, you've got the Hercules. Yeah, you can absolutely make it a living hell trying to confirm your own purple buff. But by that same note, Kuzenbo's got fantastic level 1 fight potential, as does Jingwei. So instead of not trading out his health bar, he says, we'll play it even at first, and then I'll bring the fight to them once these minion waves meet up, and we can actually meet up in the lane.
Now, the big difference maybe in this one, obviously, with the Jormungandr being picked up here, but with the Kokolin as well. Different vibe, but maybe Mifflin still kind of sticks with that same vibe for CoinPoin. Let's find some early aggression, some team fight control here. And that almost goes by the wayside as Dame takes early control of this mid lane. You talk about it maybe being a little bit more difficult for Merlin, and obviously that's being shown there with Raijin poke him down to half.
Yeah, Dan, you're out of potions now. He's out of health potions. He's only got mana sustain now, so all the poke that's going to come through from Dame is going to be hugely impactful.
Whoa. There's a slam down onto Yar Bad Kid. The ricochet will hit for 1. Vonson blinks through, but unable to finish off the kill. Unfinished kills abound here for Too Much Xbox, but maybe, Mifflin, this is exactly what we've wanted to see from them. Take the game, take the fight to CoinPoin early on here. Yeah, you don't get any kills, but the larger conversation around map pressure, well, now it's for Too Much Xbox for maybe the first time this set.
In the early game, for sure, it is. The duo lanes having a commanding presence here. They've been able to win out on every single engagement. Almost single-handedly, Dame wins mid before the junglers even show up by forcing all the sustain out of Merlin. So if this fight goes on any longer, if they decide to all stay in lanes until they can finish up their boots, for the next 2 or so minutes, Too Much Xbox have every single fight that they could possibly want. If Dame continues to put out pressure on a Dan, none of that's going to get recouped through sustain. The same can't be said for CoinPoin. They're going to have to play passively and play safely and just maintain their health bars and mana bars as they try and group up, play safely, get those boots online, and then they can try their hand again at the early game aggression.
And it's Vonson still who's looking to find some kills here. I mean, this is where, I mean, kind of the same vibe, but maybe different. I mean, you look for your Kuzumbo to move forward, drag usually the enemy hunter back through your minions. This is going to be the big difference maker, though. This is now where I look. The second round of purple buffs coming up. Can Vonson really disrupt enough? What do we have to see there? I'm not sure, but it is a flicker away from Dan's lane in the mid lane. Purple buff dropped and picked up, though, from CoinPoin, so it's not for a lack of trying, but you do have to pull both members of your duo lane over to secure up that purple buff. It's going to be a blue buff invade now on the opposite side of the map. Dame is in range. Blue buff dropped down by Too Much Xbox, so this time it is a successful invade, so small advantages being pulled, now more specifically here in the solo lane.
Every single lane now has got at least a minuscule to slight to moderate lead on the side of Too Much Xbox, and that's what their draft's for. You get this early game focus. Vonson on this Hercules, Guan Yu on this in the jungle role. They should be looking to dominate the early game. They need to look for aggression. I imagine we'll see them start to stack up again, and instead of trying to split up the map and invade everywhere, we see a 4-man stack by Too Much Xbox as they look for not only a buff invade, but kills on the tail end of it.
Well, Freya hasn't died 3 times already, so if nothing else, that's an improvement on what we saw in game number 2 there. Back towards this warrior jungle mindset, though. My Sweet Potato is kind of stuck with the late game assassin-y 1v1 health deletion potential, but now you're kind of starting to get this vibe out of Freya that the warrior jungle may just be in his wheelhouse. And maybe
like
My Sweet Potato is going to rotate through as well. Sweet Potato blinks in My Zen taken down. Your bad kid. Final shot there. My Sweet Potato rotates through. 2 kills on the board for CoinPoin. Just as I mentioned, the junglers, the difference of mindset here, it comes to fruition. Another early game start for CoinPoin. That pulls back the slight lead that Too Much Xbox had.
Now 200 gold in favor of CoinPoin, probably not even worth mentioning, but it does absolutely cut the XP as well. There was a huge gap starting to form in favor of Too Much Xbox. People were starting to pull up a level or 2 levels across the board, and then immediately Sweet Potato says, wait guys, we're not supposed to lose this. It's game 3. We didn't win game 2 just to lose here. Finds the double kill first one in the duo lane. Clean performance, gets the jump on the gank as well. Usually when you see the warrior versus assassin matchup in jungle, it's the warriors initiating the fight, then the assassin rotating in afterward and trying to either mitigate loss or turn the engagement. This time we see Freya falls behind a little bit on the engagement, is forced into using his ultimate. Just wasn't there in time for it to be any sort of effective peel. Sweet Potato runs away with his 2 kills for free.
Wicked is going to lose out on his second blue buff in a row here, so despite a couple kills down, it is going to be Too Much Xbox. They're going to kind of take the fight to CoinPoin on their side of the map. I mean, maybe that's a strong mindset here. I mean, My Sweet Potato has a kill, has an assist, certainly not unable to be dealt with up to this point. Let's try to slow him down as much as possible. Take away the blue, take away some harpies, and see if maybe we can keep this Daji at bay instead of keeping the snowball going. That's a good ricochet from In My Zen, but won't result in much.
He can look for continuous pressure, though. Zen looking constantly to just keep fighting your bad kid. He knows that even if he does force him back, it's not enough. So instead, he's placing himself between your bad kid and the wave, trying to freeze him out a little bit, see if he can get at least one more minion than the other one. Sweet Potato has to respond with a gank.
Sweet Potato is here. Your bad kid does know this, but In My Zen nearly finds the kill. Vonson left on an island all on his own, and that's the second kill of the game for My Sweet Potato. There are beads available for In My Zen, and they will be used here, but Freya will be pulled back in. Dame on the rotation back through as well. Freya cavalry charges in onto My Sweet Potato, finds the stun. Not enough damage. Ricochet nearly connecting from range. Gotta be frustrating up to this point. Dame will take to the taiko drums, but it's Dan's Land instead that finds the kill. Low is Freya, and Freya with the fadeaway shot will be taken down by Dan's Land, who has a double. This is one after another. We're going in here, Mifflin. But it looks like CoinPoin are the ones who are going to come out way ahead.
These are sloppy engagements. They keep taking it one.
It's Sponson now dropping them. It's ridiculous. One after, you can't keep up with it. Jabami chips is low and will be able to escape. It's 2 kills total by the end of it there for Too Much Xbox, and My Sweet Potato rotates through, finds another kill. Maybe the big winner there, Mifflin, is Dan's Land, but still even. 200 gold, 200 XP. Cybrito, though, is going to finally move his way in and get himself a blue buff, but at what cost? It's going to be the Jormungandr sweeping on through, has to take in to that World Serpent. Oh no, he got the blue buff away from Wicked again. So while all this fighting has been going on here on the long lane side of this map, the short lane continues to kind of pull over for Too Much Xbox. Freya taken down here. Jabami chips will find the kill. Cybrito, maybe you've stayed too long, my man, and he certainly has. That's the 8th kill of the game here for CoinPoin United. My Sweet Potato continuing to rotate through, and a big difference here. Not that Vonson hasn't been trying, but Jabami chips on this Kuzenbo has been able to find himself a good bit of presence here in this early game. Wonder now where the continued presence is. I still think there's some decent kill pressure here over in this long lane. Quick pause before we jump right on back into the action. In my Zen, Yar Bad Kid, that's kind of the back and forth tug of war maybe that we've seen up to this point. We'll not to worry, everyone. Mifflin will be right back in just a moment, but the back and forth of this game has been there, and I think the big thing to look at is where the XP and where the gold are up to this point in this game. I mean, you're at 300 XP, 300 gold, despite still the continued early game presence from CoinPoin. It's now what we've seen through the first 2 games. So I think if you're CoinPoin, you need to now maybe feel like you need to push that aggression just a little bit further. Will they be able to do it? Will they be able to find a clean early game mid into late? Well, we're going to jump to a quick break, and when we come back, the final conclusion of the set. And we are back into the final game between CoinPoin and Too Much Xbox. Mifflin So speechless at what we've seen up to this point in this game. Needed to take a breather, so we've tagged in Aggro here. But Aggro, as I was kind of mentioning prior to the break there, while it is 8-2 in kills, the gold lead still just hovering around that 1,000 mark.
Yeah, it seems like CoinPoin has not been able to really transition this lead there for Sweet Potato super well. I mean, Potato 3-0-2, still only up a little bit on Freya, but this is the point in the game where when your jungler is really far ahead, you can start looking for buff invades very effectively. So that's what I'm going to be looking for CoinPoin to do now that Freya and Dansland are in really good power positions in this game right now. They're on Gods and Dodgy and Merlin that scale well into the late game, but can certainly take fights up pretty early on. I think if you can keep Dame and Zen from finding farm, should be a pretty easy win.
Well, now is the time to invade because your solo laner and Wicked hasn't gotten a blue buff in a minute. That's a defensive really use of the Palaus there from My Sweet Potato, and we'll have to disengage, but watch out. Dame has joined the fight elsewhere. World Serpent still ringing through in the backline. Dansland trying to pull back in some damage, but Thunder Crash will silence him out. Bonson is able to find the kill. This is a fight that started off maybe for CoinPoin, but Too Much Xbox has too much damage, and we'll get a couple of kills.
Man, that's a tough fight to lose there for CoinPoin because you have this lead in the mid jungle, but Sweet Potato gets focused out very early. Really great damage coming out from these warriors of Guan Yu and Hercules. When you've got double warrior like this, sometimes you end up a little bit low in the damage department, but the prot shred there from Guan Yu makes such a big difference to make sure that not only are you not lacking damage, but you feel like you're doing a lot of damage even to the assassin who's ahead. And even though Too Much Xbox only get a couple of kills and Wicked still gets his blue buff, I like the aggressiveness that they're showing. Because I think if they sit back on their hands and they allow CoinPoin to start being the aggressors and start being the ones who are finding these buff invades like I was just talking about, it's a pretty easy lead to snowball. But Too Much Xbox being the aggressors is a good sign.
There's a slight flip of the script where Wicked has had his blue buff taken away the last 2 or 3 times. Will invade in onto Cybrito's blue buff this time and snag one there for himself. It was a good rotation through, I think, from really all members of both teams. Dansland pulls another kill out here in this one. It's that scaling potential, though, in the mid lane where Dame throughout the first 2 games has really been kind of the linchpin of Too Much Xbox, keeping them in these games despite early deficits. So Raijin here certainly has the potential in game number 3 to do much of the same.
And it's one of those picks that just scales really well into the late game. You've got great front line with this Guan Yu, Hercules, and Yorm on your side. So I'm definitely looking at Dame to be a power player in this game. But on the other side, you've got Dodgy, who really puts pressure on a character like Raijin pretty well because she puts pressure on every backliner really effectively. You've got Merlin, who can really match your late game damage pretty effectively, whereas a lot of other mages really can't. So I think that between Dansland and Dame, one of those guys is going to have to step up and make sure that the jungler isn't getting to them effectively. They're positioning themselves well and putting themselves in a position to carry the game.
Jabami chips will move through, and jungle invades have been the name of the game up to this point. Jabami chips is going to try to avoid one more going in favor of Too Much Xbox, and it is a little bit worse for wear on the back end of it, but doesn't necessarily delay Too Much Xbox from moving on forward in there. Massive difference, though, and I think it's, you talked about the Dodgy, and it's now down to a 1-level differential. Fred, 2 levels down here just a moment ago, but this is exactly what we saw in game 2, where Freya on a warrior in the jungle technically hasn't gone 0 for 3 in the first couple of minutes, but My Sweet Potato off to an early roaring start, but it was Too Much Xbox who was able to delay things and kind of keep things in the balance. So Freya, not unfamiliar with early discrepancies in the jungle.
And honestly, on these warrior jungles, you're kind of relying on your base stats a decent amount. Those levels are super important for you, so to fall behind early is tough, but you're still going to provide the utility. And right there, you see the utility provided by Freya. That prot shred helps burn that Gold Fury a little bit faster than I think CoinPoin was probably ready for. Still think CoinPoin's positioning wasn't great around that objective and clearly needs to work on their map awareness, but overall, I think that is more burn than they probably expected out of the Guan Yu, who's behind at this point.
And that pulls the gold lead right on back to even. maybe 400 or 500k for CoinPoin now that the first tower of the game has been taken down. This is maybe the biggest turn from what we've seen in the early game where Wicked had been behind for a good portion of it. My Sweet Potato, though, finds an opening onto Freya. 2-level differential will do that to you. Now Freya, for the third time this game, has been taken down. It's a 2-level lead now where we stand. For the next 25 seconds, My Sweet Potato could pull that out to somewhere around 3. So you got a 4-0-2 Daji at this point. You're feeling nervous, I think, to your point, Aggro, if you're maybe anyone, but specifically the carries here for Too Much Xbox.
Well, someone's got to feel worried now, and it might be Wicked, but the fact that he's already taken down this Tier 1 means he only has to walk around that Tier 2 tower, and thus is pretty safe after the fact. I think that Freya definitely needs to be concerned when he's farming isolated that he can get hunted out just like that by My Sweet Potato. That's what Daji wants to do at this point. Now that she's got her hi-rez, is a big power spike for this character. She auto-cancels so well.
Good ultimate down from In My Zen. Airstrike's gonna trade it out. Both leaps will reach the ground, but it's My Sweet Potato who's rotated in. Freya is here as well. Damage numbers in favor of Too Much Xbox here in this fight. Long-range attempt at a kill confirmed from Vonson. Palau from My Sweet Potato. Catches onto Vonson. Might be able to pull him back in underneath the tower. Freya doing a good bit of damage to Jabami. Chipside Burrito from range will complete a kill onto Wicked. Low health bars for everyone for CoinPoin underneath this Tier 1 tower. There's the dive. You just gotta wait for the minions. It's gonna be a full-blown sweep. 1 kill away from the Dia side of Too Much Xbox. They find the fight they've been searching for.
Really, really odd engagement that takes a long time here on this side of the map, but in the SOC, you know, these teams are not going to be nearly as clean with their shot calls and their mechanics, and I think that things like Guan Jungle make a lot of sense in this level because that extended engagement really favors you having this utility healer on your side. I think you see it come into play pretty big right there, and with the way SMITE is right now, even when you fall behind, if you can win a fight like that and get a whole lot of farm, get some shutdowns, look at how close Freya is now to being all caught up. The fact that Wicked dies getting soloed on that right side to a Yorm just should literally never ever happen. That's a huge mistake by Wicked, and it makes him really late to join this fight.
Dame is taken low here. Wicked will be able to make some reparations. Freya just kind of swoops through the fray there and stays alive. The chase is on. Our bad kid might be able to close that gap. There is a Tier 1 tower here. One final shot, maybe two, is all he needs. The heal is enough. Sunbreaker is down. Our bad kid will finally finish off that kill. Looks like CoinPoin maybe just trying to take that 1 kill and go home. This is kind of what bit them last time. The health bar's too low when they found that opening engagement. And now one final charge of that World Serpent may keep the fight going. It certainly does. It In My Zen grabs another kill.
Really nice ricochet, Earthbreaker just a little bit wide left there from Vonson. I mean, it's just one team wins a fight, overextends, spends too much time, gets punished for it, and then the team that's doing the punishing then gets punished in turn for the exact same mistakes. You know, we're learning down here, Dave. We're still learning a little bit, it feels like, as both teams kind of copying each other with the mistakes. And again, Sweet Potato starts getting a huge lead. Freya almost certainly will be able to group up and make a pretty big impact in these team fights. I feel like Sweet Potato, for how far ahead he is, for how much damage he has in the kit right now, got to be a little bit more effective in team fights. That's the hard part with Daji, is finding your windows to get all of your damage off in those 5-on-5. It's really, really easy to win 1v1s with this character, but the real skill test, I think, is winning your 5v5s with this god.
Difficult to find your way cleanly into that backline. Vonson has found his way cleanly over to the red buff. There's a slight collapse in here. It's Dame doing his best to peel on through. My Sweet Potato Palau's beads out by Dame here. That'll keep him alive for the moment. Vonson drops down some good damage. How has no one died yet? Vonson even is able to stay alive, do some damage, get out, pop the ultimate. CoinPoin, we're looking for it. Maybe open up the door to a Fury, but both teams are a little too low.
I mean, you do have that Freya sustain here from the Guan Yu, so it's certainly possible that Too Much Xbox has the opportunity to stay around a little bit longer. Wicked on the receiving end of some good damage coming from Zen. Zen with the Executioner now means that these frontliners are going to be even more trouble between this Executioner, Prot Shred, and the Talu Assault.
Cybrito on the front line here. Spectral armor picked up for Wicked. I mean, we talked a lot about Dame, kept too much Xbox in the set. In my Zen, much the same. The late game crit scaling of the hunters he's played has really given too much Xbox a fighting chance as some of the games haven't gone in their favor. So maybe easy pickup here for Wicked. Grab spectral armor. I guess sometimes that's a touch later on in the build. But he's going to be able to shrug off some of that damage from In My Zen quite well. Jabami Chips is going to pop the ultimate, spin around, pops the Thorns as well. Dame looking to melt through, and he's able to do so. Down goes the Kuzumbo. In My Zen will leap away, but My Sweet Potato is there on the follow-up. Wicked will shout forth and finish off the kill for a 1-for-1 trade. My Sweet Potato, you're going to have to come down somewhere here. Cybrito has won the fight elsewhere. Blink through from Vonson to finish off the kill there. That's the knockup from Cybrito. Might have locked Wicked in here. Who finishes off the kill? It's a double for the Yorm.
Really good team fight there by Too Much Xbox, and they split that fight very effectively. And normally you don't want to split a fight when you've got a healer like Guan on your side, but the way that CoinPoin was diving Zen, I don't think you're really going to be able to save his life. So I think that Too Much Xbox makes the right call, Dame makes the right call. Let's not throw our lives away to try and save this Ho Yi that really just got effectively one-shot by Sweet Potato and Wicked. And instead, let's go and help our front line and these warriors on the front side. Yorm, really just a magical warrior, end up being super effective at keeping Dansland and Yar Bad Kid occupied. Both of those players very similar in damage numbers, and for the lead that the jungler has for Sweet Potato, I think you got to have your backline do a little bit more to help you out in situations like that. I mean, coming into that fight, Yar Bad Kid was down a full item to In My Zen.
Yes.
Zen had a full rage, and Yar Bad Kid was sitting on 3 items. So that itemization effectiveness was really, really different there between those two hunters, and their effectiveness in the team fight was different as well.
Could be an opening for My Sweet Potato to continue his role through this game onto Cybrito, but ultimately not enough there. Potential collapse from Vonson, but won't end up coming to fruition. Mifflin and I talked about this a little bit in picks and bans, but kind of the not only tanky utility potential of a Jormungandr, but with this build specifically, you go Jade Emperors, Gem of ISO, Ethereal Staff, you've got some melt potential onto the back lines as well.
I think so too. I mean, you've got a lot of damage, and this is kind of this hybrid build that you want to see, and it's good understanding by Cybrito of exactly what his composition needs him to be doing. They've got plenty of frontline. They don't really need that much of that from him. They need him to be outputting damage.
The damage output on In My Zen right now. Who will win the fight? The up-down. It's in time. There's an Aegis there, but In My Zen who complete that animation, find the final shot over onto Yar Bad Kid. That's a fully stacked rage. That'll do it to you. My Sweet Potato looking for a return kill. Dame, Taiko Drums. That only immunes you from CC, not from damage. Pulled back in is Vonson, but it's My Sweet Potato on full-blown retreat. Solo laner still off on the right-hand side of the map, so for the time being, a 1-for-1 trade is what we've got.
I mean, that's exactly what you want Daji to do, but again, the concern comes back to how effective Zen has been in this game in comparison to what Yar Bad Kid is putting out. I mean, Zen had that 1v1 basically wrapped up. The fact that Freya came in was really just for the assist and making sure that Yar Bad Kid might use an extra relic or something like that, which he does. So now Yar Bad Kid, who's already, I think, struggled to match that effectiveness, now is going to have an even tougher task of doing so when he has neither of his relics while Zen has both of his.
I think Vonson as well, you see a small moment where he's able to kind of peel off. It was Pyromancer thought about by Too Much Xbox, but now it's Freya being taken low that'll potentially change the objective mindset maybe here for the Xbox squad. He'll have to sustain up just a little bit, but the line has been drawn here on either side of the Pyromancer pit, nobody wanting to extend off to either side. But I think this has got to be, you look at this at a high level, it's got to be hats off to Too Much Xbox, especially from what we've seen here in this set where normally they've been down heavily through the first couple of games. This time around, they've seemingly found their team fight and given themselves a fighting chance around this Pyro.
I mean, Freya just backed, so this is a bit risky, but Too Much Xbox make the right call that no one from CoinPoin is going to be local, so they are able to sneak that one away with relative ease. I do want to see Too Much Xbox start to take fights, though, because this Daji is not getting a whole lot weaker. Dodgy, everything she does scales at 100%. She's super strong late game. And you've got this lead in your ADC role that, again, won't be there forever. And those relics are coming up from Your Bad Kid. I'm just surprised at how patiently Too Much Xbox are willing to play this. I feel like there should be a little bit more urgency.
Right, especially with, where everything is on their side, a 4K gold lead. A lot of this game, I mean, when you really started to see some kills flare up, it was usually an engagement from CoinPoin, a disengage, and then sudden re-engage from Too Much Xbox that has turned some of the fights for themselves. So you almost wonder if their mindset is too stuck in the ways of, well, we'll let them engage, potentially overextend, and then try to turn things around. CoinPoin, maybe on the flip side of the coin, won't overextend in some of these fights as the game goes on. Maybe they're going to start playing a touch more patiently. We have slowed down, though, Aggro. 24 minutes in, we've seen plenty of kills to start things off. Over that 1 kill, a minute threshold. Fury, both times being locked down by Too Much Xbox here. I think it's a good opportunity for them to not shy away and maybe open up a fight around this big objective.
I mean, you look at the itemization advantage, every single role has one. I mean, solo lane, Cyberdo has been able to finish off his Stone of Binding. You've got a lead in jungle as well, or a lead in mid as well as Too Much Xbox explode that Gold Fury as quickly as you'd expect. You've got that Obsidian Shard 2 right there. I mean, CoinPoin want to get this fight going. They know that Dame's already used that Tycho drums.
Yep. Yeah, no Tycho drums. Palau's up from My Sweet Potato. Vonson taken low. Some peel from In My Zen on the backline. Dan's Land, though, will find the opening kill. Cybrito able to move into that World Serpent and plug down just a little bit of damage. Third charge is going to be somewhere potentially close by someone from CoinPoin. They've all disengaged here, but he pops right out of the ground. Could be a dead Jormungandr here. In My Zen still plugging away. Good bit of damage. But an up-down on the Thunder Crash is enough for Dame to grab the kill. Push back from Jabami chips underneath the Tier 1 tower. Tier 2 here in the mid lane is enough to delay the fight, but In My Zen turns around the one more fight. Jabami chips is going to be the sacrificial lamb here. It's a 2 for 2.
Again, just overextension after overextension. Both teams get punished for it, as you would expect. I mean, Cybrito, the first charge going in, sure, you've got 2 to get away. The second one going in, I feel like he forgot what his own health bar was at the time of channeling that ultimate, because he was really low going into it. And then it's correct from CoinPoin to just stick around and make sure they get that kill pretty freely. But then the overextension onto Dame, and in all of these wacky back and forth fights, they favor the team that has the sustain. They favor Too Much Xbox.
And that'll open up the door here for the FG to be started up. Only Wicked is in range. Tycho drums from Dame will be used for objective burn, and Too Much Xbox will complete the FG. But then an immediate disengage. This has been the MO for Too Much Xbox. Let's do a big objective, finish it, and then immediately try to move ourselves back. And they're successful once again in grabbing an objective and moving themselves away.
I love the idea, though. I mean, you use Frenzy, you've got this prot tread there from the Guan Yu, let's utilize it. And then finally, someone is able to eventually make a call to get out of danger. For the first time, it's felt like all game, a team makes the right disengage call, and doesn't overstay and use too many resources to try and get greedy for kills. So Too Much Xbox now in a good spot in this game, in control at this point, but have to see if they're able to siege properly, because they've got the sustain on their side, they've got Raijin poke, they've got a lot of really good tools for sieging, but CoinPoin has this Kuzenbo that's hard to siege against. They've got this Merlin that's one of the best siege defense characters. I think this might cause some trouble for the Order side.
Well, there's no objectives left on the map outside of non-respawning towers and, of course, the Phoenixes thereafter. So Too Much Xbox are going to have to take the fight to CoinPoin this time and underneath the Tier 2 tower. Maybe a smart call from CoinPoin, sensing a Tier 2 tower not worth much of a fight.
Wonder if Too Much Xbox are going to just get these Tier 2s and back and spend their gold, or if they're going to try and jam a Phoenix right away. They shouldn't have too much gold in hand. They'll have a good amount after these 2 Tier 2s. This will give Freya his 6th item, which is pretty big. It'll allow Dame to finish off a Spirit Robe, but he's a little bit short on Mantle. Lets Zen finish off his Mantle. It looks like it will be a full reset, where this does really limit Phoenix Siege time. And
Right.
remember that once this Fire Giant falls off, it's good. The next one's going to be enhanced. So you're not getting this next one nearly as easily as the last one that you got. So I do think that there is some argument to making sure that you can get a Phoenix. These first Fire Giants, I say it a lot, they're really there to guarantee your next Fire Giant. That's what you want to do with the first one. They guarantee your enhanced Fire Giant, because enhanced is usually what you end off of. And you do that by pushing out waves, by eliminating all the towers, by stripping all the buffs, and by getting at least one, if not two Phoenixes. And now you've only got a minute 20 in order to make sure that that happens for Too Much Xbox.
Well, this would be a hindsight type call where I agree with you. You can make the argument really for a full-blown push or going back and spending 1 minute remaining on that FG buff, so certainly time for a siege here. And then maybe a Fire Giant thereafter, depending on how the opening moments of this one go. Vonson looking for the fight immediately. Pushed back by Jabami Chips, but a return push over onto that Kuzumbo will put him into the awaiting arms of a couple members of Too Much Xbox. It's Cybrito now, in between the first and second Phoenix over here off to the side. World Serpent used from him as well. Weave has one more charge, yes, so he'll have to disengage, and there is some safety beneath the mid lane. Phoenix, My Sweet Potato, re-engages here on the back line. No defensive utility just yet for the Jormungandr, and Dan's lane will capitalize, but watch out for Dame. He's turned around some good damage here as well. Freya taken quite low. A 0-for-1 trade, and no Phoenix picked up just yet. Maybe Wicked here goes down, and a couple final shots ring through, and the Phoenix will finally fall.
Man, if I'm on Too Much Xbox, I think I let Cybrito know, like, hey, bro, I don't know if you saw, but Titan Forge just hot-fixed Yorm. He actually only has 2 ult charges now, so make sure you're getting out with that second one. It's really important, because my man's just so greedy with that World Serpent also. That's twice in a row that he has been quickly punished for going in too deep with that second charge. Yeah, feeling like he's got all the room in the world in order to make plays.
He certainly doesn't, but Dame now maybe caught out. Touch, I don't know if you call it a lazy back on your own side of the jungle, but Dame is going to grab the red buff. My Sweet Potato will dash through and get rid of the Too Much Xbox mid laner. Now especially aggro. 30 seconds left on that Fire Giant respawn, but 50 seconds left on the Raijin death timer. This is now an opening for CoinPoin.
Really good chase out by CoinPoin. It's pretty low risk for them. I mean, you know that Too Much Xbox is really resetting almost everybody. And yes, that's a lazy back from Dame, but you also have to, as a frontliner, you kind of have to have this sixth sense. You know, it's a muscle memory thing that you can't be the first one to back. You've got to let your backliners back first. And that's still on Dame, but it's really on everybody.
It's tier 2 tower that's being sieged here. Still 15 seconds left. FG has respawned. Is enhanced variety here. CoinPoin making no mistake, wasting no time, starting up the Fire Giant. You're not going to be 5v5 for a moment here until Dame is not only respawned but walked back from base. So good delay here. Cybrito this time will World Serpent maybe back to the side of his team. Fight back to the blue buff here. Vonson is going to drop down the damage, but Dan's Land has found the opening kill. The chase is on, and it's In My Zen who turns it around. Pull back in from CoinPoin. A double kill from In My Zen. Your bad kid as well will drop down Freya. He's stunned off to the side. It's kind of a 4v5 until Dame joins the fray. And now aggro, it's Jabami against 3 on the defense.
Looks like it might be all over but the crying here, Dave. I mean, this looks like it should wrap up right here. You've got so much damage between Dame, who has Taiko drums, and Zen, who's going to be putting out some pretty solid damage on this Titan, and Jabami's all alone for the next 28 seconds.
Yeah, I'm not sure the Kuzumbo damage is quite there to finish this one up. We'll pop the ultimate and forces the Aegis out of In My Zen, but damage on either side of the Titan here. It's down to half HP. Too Much Xbox. Game 1, they falter. Game 2, they falter even worse, but Game 3, they're going to get it done here. The deicide by the end of it, and Too Much Xbox. They go 1-3 and complete the 2-1.
They get the win this week in the SMITE Open Circuit. Obviously, I think both teams still have a lot to work on, but overall, I think that the composition from Too Much Xbox was pretty well crafted. I think they played around the Guan pretty effectively in the moments where they weren't overstaying and things like that. And really, Zen just really separated himself from the pack in terms of player damage and effectiveness. Nearly 30K for him on this Hou Yi. It was impressive by him.
I mean, it's spitting image of games 1 and 2. Hot start for CoinPoin, comeback from Xbox, but it's 1 and 3 where Team Xbox, or Team Too Much Xbox, are able to get it done. 2-1 here in the finals after 2-0s there in the semis. So great look for Too Much Xbox. These are teams, though, especially with the way we've seen them perform here today, Aggro, I imagine they might be some mainstays here in the SOC finals and weeks moving forward.
Certainly could be. Hope to see them continue to improve. That's what the SMITE Open Circuit is all about, the potential to grow as a player individually and as part of a team, and hopefully you can make your way into the SMITE Challenger Circuit sooner rather than later.
Well, Aggro, that does it for the SOC to start off this week in SMITE competitive action. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got the SPL coming up soon. Radiance versus Ghost will kick off this week. Stick around right after this.